Why, hello there, everyone. I may have, done everything wrong before going live, but, I'll do everything right when I am live, so it's something to make up for it. So, for example, I hadn't set up my view of chat. I was like, let's go live. Sounds about fine. What's the issue? I can just go live, and I was like, oh. And the only thing, the names aren't set up properly, and, and chat isn't set up properly, and okay, at least the lights are set up properly. The sign telling my family to not go into my room while I'm streaming isn't set up properly. Nothing's set up properly. But we're gonna be watching my games, so general quality of the stream is going down tonight. I can tell you that much. Okay. I'm just setting up where I'm gonna be reading chat. So welcome to anyone who's early. I'm gonna be going through some of my own games today. So some of you may be a little bit tired of me going through top European games at this point from this Grand Prix Finale, and I mean I do it because I don't know, it's a tournament I have participated in at this point, and kinda it piques my interest for that reason. And yeah, I was gonna start with I did Ilya's games yesterday basically, since he did win the tournament. Oh, hello Swinky. Yeah. Oh, Dusty Baduk, 2 new people. So, yeah, also, yeah, welcome back, I suppose. Yeah, so, I did Ilia's games yesterday, and today I thought, hey, why not do my games? And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that, they're my games, so I can give more accurate and or interesting, analysis of my own games, because they're my own games. I know a lot about them, I played them. So there's that going for me. There's also the fact that I should review my games, so I'm kind of doing my homework on stream. So some of these games I have not, formally reviewed yet. Some of them I have. So let's see. Let's just open all of them. I don't quite know which one I'll go to first. Guillaume Weichi, hello there. Welcome to everyone who's coming in. I mean, basically, the only game I reviewed on stream was the legendary one against Ben0. But I played a lot more. I played 7 games. I played 7 games and I lost 4 of them. And I got 6th place out of 16. Funny how that works. I don't know, which game do we go for? There's this one. This is the one that was played officially in private, I suppose. So you won't people weren't able to see this, and the reason it was played private was because I had a lesson with a student of mine the day before the game was set to private. Then when we played this game, we absolutely forgot to fix that. So we, and the thing is, we were playing a game 5th to 8th place match. So I already had sort of been figuring that nobody would be watching. But after half an hour of absolutely no one watching, I was like, okay, this is a bit strange. Somebody should be watching. There should be more than 2 people in this room. My parents would probably like to watch. Maybe. So eventually we realized that the game was was private and that nobody could watch it. So hello there, Tando the Magnificent. So there's this game. Probably many of you haven't seen it because, it's on the website now. On the website for the tournament, you can download the SGF. And it was a fun game. It is, it's my 2nd official recorded win against a professional, so that's pretty good. Andrii's a strong player. Andrii Kravets, 1-time professional from Ukraine. Oh, hello, Rick Sagara. So there's that game. There's this game I played. Oh, this is my half-point loss from yesterday against Lukas Podpera 7-dan. Yeah, Lukas Podpera's pretty good. So this game is also fun to review. Oh, hello there, Decross. And I mean, there's lots of options. There's even this is the legendary game against Ben0. Some of you may notice that half the board died. Yeah, approximately half the board died. But yeah, that game I already reviewed on stream. So, yeah, this game against Dusan Mitic from the group stage, I'll probably not do this one. So, as I'm thinking, what I'll probably be doing is this game. Not this game. This game. I'll be doing game 2 of my series against Artem, who eventually finished runner-up in the tournament. And then I'll probably be doing my win against Andrii. Probably. And then I might do my game against Lukas Podpera at the end. Because I don't know, those are the games I feel like doing. It's a good mix of me getting beat, I guess, and me winning stuff. So let's see. Let's change up the overlay. I was white. Haven't seen the Ben Zero game. Well, I mean, you can stalk my OGS account, dacat1, and see like the firework that was my game against Ben Zero. So it was a fun game. Not for Ben Zero. Because basically, I was suffering all game. Like, I was losing, then I was losing harder, then I was like one move from resignation. And then eventually, I basically got it back in, like, endgame. Well, not endgame, like, at the end of the game. But the game was like a crazy fighting game until the very end of it. And I ended up winning by 1.5 when I was losing all game. And, like, after we finished the game, like, the first thing I said was, like, I'm sorry. Because losing that game was, like, Jesus. So it's really unfortunate for him that he lost that game. I mean, I'm not going to say that it was unlucky, because he did lose it, and it's very hard to lose that game. It's amazing he managed. It's also kind of nice for me to win it. But anyway, roller coaster game. It's a fun one if you want to check it. This game was a little bit higher quality, let's say. First game with Artem was good, but time management. I don't entirely agree. I think, so this game that we're going to check now is my second game against Artem, which I think I played considerably better than my first one. So, you know, for those of you who don't know, the quarterfinals were a best of series. Like, from the quarterfinals onwards, we played best of 3 series. And I played Artem Kachanovsky, who's probably the second highest rated European player.
Hi.
I think. Oh, hello there, Ascor Tokinas22. You have this this tendency of you know, saying hello with the bits these days, which is cool. Thank you very much. So yeah, so Artem is probably, in my opinion, it's not just that he's the second highest rated. He's, but like, in my opinion, clearly the second strongest. Who's currently number 1? The answer to that has been Ilya Shikshin for like 10 years at this point. So, okay, Fan Hui was, when he was active, Fan Hui was better. But yeah, so Artem, I think, is okay. It's not that clear if you ask some other people. In my opinion, Artem is clearly the second best European professional. Fan Hui was better. When Fan Hui was playing, he rolled everyone. He won the European Championship 3 years in a row. So Fan Hui is the reason that Ilya hasn't won almost every. He's not that European. I mean, he's French. He has French nationality. And I mean, I know he comes from China, but he's pretty French. You should talk to him. I mean, he studied in China and stuff. So, in any case, the way that this series went is that in the first game against Artem in this best of series, it was a very interesting game. I don't think I played that badly, but Artem played very well. Like, I was surprised because we went into like this sharp, complicated fighting game where Artem was like, you know, I don't think Artem is that suited for that type of game, and he just played so well, and I suffered all game and I was behind, and you know, I thought I played okay, but just the game wasn't very good for me. And then eventually I like blundered a Sumego in time trouble and resigned, even though the game wasn't never good for me. But so that game didn't go too well. This game went much better, and it was a much more dynamic and interesting game, so that's why I played, like, that's why I want to show it. Artem made a much higher amount of mistakes, and of much higher gravitas, I think. And it ended up being a cool game. So, most importantly, he's a pro. Yeah, Fan Hui is a pro. The good pro. It's okay. One thing about this tournament that sort of happened to me is that I ended up playing against a lot of territorial players. So some of you may know that I kind of like doting on moyos. Like I like moyos in theory. But then if you saw my games this tournament, then you wouldn't think that I like moyos. I mean, look at my first two moves. Fan Hui, he's not pro. He's not a European pro. He's a Chinese pro. He became professional in China. Yeah, he's too damn professional. And I think he's better than the European guys. I mean, I don't know anymore because I don't see him playing. But when he was playing, he was better. Wicked Master, thank you for following. So yeah, you may notice I'm playing rather territorially. And one of the reasons for that is that a lot of people in Europe are territorial. So when I play really territorial people, I notice that they don't like having their points taken away from them. And I mean, I'm not super comfortable playing the type of game where I don't have more power on the board than my opponent. Like, I feel good when I have power, when I have control of the board. And I don't feel very comfortable. I think my opponents feel more uncomfortable not having points. A lot of Europeans really love points. So I tend to play very territorially against a lot of my peers. Have you already covered why you chose your super territorial strategy against Lucan? We might come to that later in the stream. I haven't covered it yet. The guy who lost to AlphaGo. Yeah, that's Fan Hui. Oh, it's a whole strategy. Yeah, I mean, it's not that sophisticated. Because I have tried in the past preparing very specifically for an opponent. But that tends to backfire because chess is like chess. Go is... the reason I said chess is because I want to talk about chess soon. But Go is a little bit less predictable than something like chess. Like, preparation has to be less specific because the game has more variance. So you can't prepare like, in this line, no, you never get this line. It's more, instead of a specific variation or specific josekis, you just prepare a way that you want to play. And by its own nature, then it's much less specific and a little bit more vague and opportunistic. So more than that I prepare specifically, it's just, I have to have this mindset when I play this player. And if it gets too convoluted, that's bad, I guess. It's okay. I mean, I still play e16. I mean, probably the really territorial choice, like the really, really, really territorial choice would be this, this, and this. But I don't like this joseki personally. I prepared for 4 hours for a match in the German league once. Wait. What? Wait, I hope for chess, right? Oh, so Funks, thank you for following. Welcome. So, yeah, I hope in chess, Ascor Tokin, yes. I really hope so, because preparing for 4 hours in Go is like... I used pattern recognition to find all his favorite josekis in Go. Wow. You had lots of time to waste on your hands. Wow. Jesus. Did you win? Somehow I hope you lost, because that'll teach you that preparing in Go isn't very effective. Yeah. I guess it could have been fun, though. It's okay. I managed to be in a prepared line for 62 moves. Then I blundered on move 65. Oh god. But wow, someone being prepared to move 62 in Go is really uncommon. And also it doesn't help, because like Go lasts too long for that. So, you know, it doesn't really help you. Oh, oops. I don't know how that happened. It's a little bit like saying, you know, if, you know, in China, for example, in the Go school that I studied, there's a lot of kids in the school who really like playing long josekis, and the reason that they like it, in my opinion, is that they're kids who are going to school, and for that reason, their mindset is a little bit like, I just want to think as little as possible. I just want to do least effort, right? That's how some kids think in school, right? And that's why in my school you'd see some kids playing some ridiculously long joseki, so you'd have some repeated games up until move like, I don't know, like 60, because they played 2 corner josekis that everyone knows. So I guess you can get to a prepared game after 60 moves like that. But then in my opinion, the game basically hasn't started. So as white, I had a 14% advantage before my blunder. It was a good fuseki. Well, that's like all your fusekis. You're always ahead at, like, you always have 70% according to the computer before you blunder. That's how you roll. So okay. So game goes on. Fuseki is not too important, I suppose. And okay, so I remember at this point thinking sort of, what do I want to do? Or actually even here. So I had a perception that probably the computer isn't like that happy. Yeah, L3. Yeah. So L3 is the first interesting decision I made this game. And I'd kind of decided to play L3 by the time I approached here. And the main reason I played L3 was that I was thinking that this is annoying. And the reason that I'm thinking that this is annoying is that this is annoying. Like, this approach is annoying. There's like this follow-up, and then what do you do? I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that the official move is something like this, and then you trade it, but I mean, I'm too old for that. I don't know this stuff. So I figured, okay, I'd rather play here and not have to deal with it than play anywhere else. Like, there isn't a big move on this board. Too old, yeah. I like saying too old because it's kind of ironic. Just don't blunder and you win. That's a better piece of advice than you think it is. Like, if you never blunder, like, if you never ever blunder, then you're like 3 done or something like that, at least. So Q16 and O16 are big. Old boomer. Well, I mean, I'm not a boomer, but you think I'm a boomer the way I handle the stream overlays. Trust me. She says M Pinchin. Hello there. But Q16 and O16. Yeah, I retired basically. Yeah, okay, maybe not that much. Maybe not that much. Hello there. So I don't like playing moves like O16 later in the game. And maybe I'll try to explain a little bit why I dislike this kind of idea. This is an asking move, right? Like, I want to play this move on like, as early in the game as possible. And I found that if I play it earlier in the game, then it's not, like, I don't get good results because my opponent knows what to do as a function of the board. So I'd have played this move earlier. If I wanted to play this move, I would have played it here, basically. And I'm not saying that it's bad to play it here. My point is that if I wanted to play it, I would have played it already, let's say. So I'm not thinking about this move anymore. Q16 is an interesting one. You could go to this side, but it's not that big. Like, you can get these random exchanges that are probably good exchanges, and then what do? Do you play here next? Hard to say. Maybe. And you could do this, right? It's an option. But N3 is not actually such a small side, and it's preventing M3, which is annoying from a shape perspective, right? Like, when I play this move, I'm mostly paying attention. Wait, when I played like this, I'm thinking that this move is annoying for shape reasons. Like, how do you answer this move? Like, you need to have a plan for M3 if you're not going to play L3. How about G4? G4. I mean, G4 is... Oh, instead of L3. G4 doesn't prevent M3. That's the thing. Like, you don't prevent it. Well, Black's still gonna do this, like, next move. I would do this next move. And now you could even... Maybe you could even implement a very, like, chicken plan like this. But this is very awkward because you leave a weakness behind. So I don't know. I didn't want to do that. And I didn't see what else to do. So basically, when I was pondering what to do against M3, the type of idea that came to my mind was Tanuki. And then after this, I don't want to let Black just take the side. Because It's like black has good shape and white doesn't. I don't know. This is very awkward for white as far as I can tell. Black stone is a really good distance from any wall I get. And the type of idea that white does implement in this type of situation is actually this move. I know that this move exists, but even this one I was so happy with. Actually, probably black pushes first and then plays here. And it's a similar idea where my group doesn't have that much space. And this is fine. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I don't see what's big on this board apart from that. And that doesn't mean it's the, like, L3 is the best move. It just means that, more than anything, it means I don't value Q16 that much. Because Q16 would probably be the biggest move at the moment if you asked, like, a computer or something. But okay. Black played here. And I'm like, okay, I want to limit... Black sort of has a framework going here. I could limit it. Why not? So I shoulder hit. Actually, shoulder hit is the type of move I enjoy. Black played here. Okay, so what black did here was really funny. Really funny. And you're not really supposed to do this. I don't think professionals would do this for black. Like, you don't see this type of shape very often. And the reason you don't is that you give white too many moves on the outside. Now, but Artem's doing this for a reason. Like, I'm not saying what Artem did is bad, I'm saying it's rare. And I think you're just giving too many moves. Like, later, this type of shape thing's gonna happen, and, like, your shape is terribly, terribly inefficient, right? So... Oh, Musharraf, yes. My mother brought me something, kind of her. So, a drink. So shape-wise, black isn't doing very well here. You know, if you wanted to pay attention to shape, you would much rather have just pushed up here, 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 and just played this move, which I kind of expected. So he played something questionable in terms of shape, and the reason, the setup, you know, the preparation behind this move is that we cut. And yeah, cut's an interesting move. I had the distinct sense it's a bad move, but I couldn't deal with it correctly. Like, I dealt with it in a bad way here. So, and one interesting thing about Artem is that I'd usually consider him a very territorially oriented player that does not actually... I'm not gonna say he's not passive, but he's conservative. Like, he doesn't go out of his way to do this stuff. So, I was surprised, let's say. Okay, so that would be my intuition as well. I think you meant to push up against white shoulder hit. What if white played double tiger to prevent the cut? Double tiger just isn't a shape, as far as I can tell. Like, what's gonna happen with double tiger is probably... Wow, black has several options that I like. Double peep isn't that painful. Like, I don't mind... I don't mind peep. I'm actually thinking black might want to do it this way, though. Probably this. And then here, I think. And maybe I could have done this. The main reason that I played here was that at the time I didn't expect him to cut. Like, I didn't expect it. So, and I don't think it's good. I still don't think it's good. And I could have handled the cut better. And the main reason I don't want to play this is that it gives black many options. Like, there's lots of reasons why this move could be bad. Such as double peep, such as R12. And let's say when I played here, the only thing that could be wrong with this move is that black cuts, which I thought would be bad for black. Now, I was proven wrong, or like, I wasn't proven wrong, I proved that I couldn't punish his overplay. But that doesn't mean that this move's good. So yeah, rare is used by teachers as a kind of euphemism for bad, though. Yeah, I mean, I think that what black did up until now isn't very good by modern convention, but it's fine. Like, you're not playing badly here, you're playing fine. This cut is probably objectively incorrect. Probably. And the main reason is that your shape is just really weird. So I'm gonna Atari here. And if we just look at it from the perspective of shape efficiency, no good. Black's not doing well. So, it really isn't fun for black here, in that sense. In fact, maybe one reason you might not play here is actually that you don't want black to do this, where white never gets this Atari in. So that's another reason. So, what I would have expected from black here is more along the lines of this move, followed by probably this exchange in here. So black's trying to poke at white's shape and make it inefficient, right? And, this cutting point exists. Like, there's lots of ways black could play this from a shape perspective. This cut isn't one of them. Artem played way more violent than usual in this tournament. Dongyu was really surprised while doing commentary. Yeah, so Artem surprised me in both games. Well, the second one not as much because, the first game he played more aggressive than I did. And, Artem's like, he's like, I think he's like 28. He's an established professional with a peaceful play style. And I'm like some kid who's 17. Like, I'm supposed to be the aggressive one, right? I'm the one who went, like, to study Go in China, like, for a year or something. And I'm the one who's supposed to be, like, wild and crazy, comparatively speaking. But this game, it looks like the other way around. Like, except I'm much weaker than he is when he plays. Not much weaker, but I'm weaker than when he plays a little bit more passively, I guess. Could N13 be an option for white instead of P13? Instead of P12, you want to play N13. Wow. This looks a little bit like the dog ear shape. So the dog ear shape is that, imagine you shoulder hit this, and you play this move. So it looks vaguely like the dog ear shape. It's the same as P12 cut, and then N13. I mean, I don't like this for white. Oh, hello there, Lion Guy side, by the way. So, yeah, so... I mean, this is fine. Like, white can Keima here. The Keima is okay. So, if you transpose this way, this isn't bad for white. However, if you transpose this way, I'm not happy. Because I'm never going to connect this way. And the reason I'm never going to connect this way is that this cut is better than the other cut, because the right side is kind of big at the moment. So, when black plays this, and I don't fight it, like white would have to fight this. White has to fight this. Absolutely has to fight this. And probably this, and make life on the side. Which would probably be even okay. White might even be better then, because white's stone efficiency is much higher than black's. Conversely, if you just give up the stone, then black's right side is massive. And usually when you give up points, when you give up the side of the board, you want shape compensation. Like, you want good shape, right? And you don't have it here. I mean, you don't, because you have this cutting point still, you don't have any more forcing moves. Very strange. No, play around the Atari. Wow. Interesting. Like N13, P12, P13. Okay, we'll address that in a second. Thank you very much for the follow, Mafidufa and Albatra. Two followers, like, successively. Cool. Thank you. So, wow. So we have... That's an interesting suggestion. So we want to play here, then donate black another Ponuki. And then say, like, how cool our shape is? Is that the idea? I mean, it looks aesthetic. It looks good. I mean, this is definitely the Anna Kournikova of Go shapes. Wow. I think you can just capture here, like Q13. And the issue with this is that, you're giving away a bit too much, let's say. Probably something like this is gonna happen. And this is actually okay. It's not terrible, for sure. Because you do get good shape on the outside and you do get sente. Like, it might be bad, but it was seen in some corner approaches. I mean, I'm not gonna say that this specific sequence has been seen. I think maybe it has. I don't know. I think this idea is interesting and not strictly speaking bad. I just think you're giving away a bit too much. Maybe I would do it, but it's almost required to like Atari first. Oh, Daniel ML001, thank you for rating. Thank you very much. So welcome to the stream, Raiders. Yeah, how was the stream? So for anyone, for all of you Raiders, context is I'm basically reviewing some of my own games from a recent tournament I played. So it's European Grand Prix Finale that just finished. I'm reviewing some of my own games against some rather strong players. So yeah, and and thanks for the follow, Daniel ML001. Good stream. We just finished West Michigan Go Club. Nice. That's some cool entrance like emotes for a raid, Lion Guy Sai. That's cool. Oh, hello there, Beef Curry. It's old stuff anyway, just because O12 would be heavy. Oh, I see. Okay, so actually, we were just talking now because Jacques Grimaud was suggesting some really interesting idea here, whereas usually you would connect. They wanted to just play N13 and just sack the stone to get shape on the outside, which is a really interesting idea. I thought I was already followed. Yeah, well, you can always follow again. Were Daniel ML1 and Daniel ML01 already taken? Maybe. So, interesting idea. It didn't even cross my mind. I just connected here. What can I say? I'm a closed mind. So we connected and white cut. So this move was really hard to answer for me. And the reason it was hard to answer was that I was thinking if I play if I don't play a local move, let's say I shoulder hit here, for argument's sake, then this move's gonna be really painful. So I don't know. I thought this was gonna be pretty painful. And I do get some compensation, but even like this, I actually discussed this later with my teachers, and I was like, eh. I mean, they sort of agreed with me. This is a little bit too much what Black's getting. This push of Black's is sort of powerful, so I wanted to find a way to deal with this push. Maybe not necessarily directly prevent it, but deal with it. You know, make it worse. I think Daniel ML and Daniel ML01 were taken. Nice. By the way, Leela0 wants to Atari first and then connect the other side, and then cut fight on the right with Q16 and stuff. Okay, so apparently Leela0 wants to do something that I thought was bad. So you're saying Atari first and then connect on the other side? And on cut, fight on the right side. Yeah, I mean, this would be okay if I could get it. I just didn't think I'd get it. I expected Black to play here. So I was thinking of such a sequence, and I didn't think this was good for me. And the reason I didn't like it was that my shape isn't complete. R11's also okay, but you meant the other Atari. Same argument applies to the other Atari. So yeah, I didn't like this dynamic for white. So I didn't think I had the timing yet to play the cut. If the computer thinks differently, that's really interesting. I'll have to check it. Because I didn't think I should Atari first. Okay. I connected, Black cut, and like I said, I wanted to find a way to prevent O12. And O12 is a vital point because after Black pushes here, my stones are running short on liberties. Jacques Grimaud, thank you for following. Welcome. Yeah, you've been chatting today quite actively. The founder of the N13 idea, I suppose. Not the founder, but the messenger. Oh, and Weiqi Z, thank you for following. Lots of followers this stream. So okay. I played a move I really regret here. Really regret. So I think anything would be better than what I did. Not anything, but a lot of stuff would be better than what I did. I thought of doing something along these lines, but again, I didn't like this move. I didn't like being crumpled into bad shape and eventually giving over r12. And that's why, in retrospect, something I should have considered is more along the lines of p15. The idea being that if black pushes, well, I can trade for the corner. Not trade. Trade is the wrong word because it's not like black corner is gone, but I can fight this way. And once I get something like this, now I can Keima. So one of the issues I had with Keima was that my shape isn't complete. I guess I could go for this order as well. And then go for something like this. Shimmy into the corner. Yeah, that would be nice. Shimmying into the corner would be good. And another thing white can actually consider is just sort of ignoring O12, O12, which I didn't want to, let's say, but I maybe could have been open to the idea. I wonder now, if I have extra stones, can I even... It's not supposed to be good, but what if I double Hane this? The idea being that if like this happens or something, then I just make shape and I'm okay. And if black plays like this, I can sort of sack the stones and then play here and sack them in a really dynamic way where I get lots of counterplay on the top side. So, I don't know, there's some options here where I could have played more flexibly, but instead I played a really slow move. So I just Kosumi'd. So Kosumi is a bad move. It's just inefficient. It's just bad shape. Like, you have these 3 stones, and you're treating them like you're weaker than they are. So it's slow. Slow move. Bad move. And he Atari'd here, which is probably correct, or at least I agree with it. And he connected. Now, the reason we Atari instead of just going out directly, like some of you, I'll tell my students very often, don't play Ataris without thinking. Like, when you play Ataris, you are fixing your opponent's Aji for them, right? Like, this cutting point, or like this black had Atari from either way, black can have this move in Sente. There's so many things you can do. Oh, Claspa, thank you for following. Hey there. So, I often tell my students, don't Atari. And that's true most of the time. Don't Atari when you don't need to, because you might need that Aji later for something else. So, the very specific reason that black wants to Atari here is that if I'm not careful, black's gonna play this move. That's a mean move. That's meaner than you think it is, actually. It's a very mean move. And as far as I can tell, I actually die. Or, I guess, wait, can I survive in, like, a really... I can... Wait, it's hard reading. I guess it depends. I don't, strictly speaking, die. Well, if I play this, I die. This is just kind of easy for black. So, white can't catch up on the outside. There's nothing you can do. You're gonna die. So, white has this move, though, which is really painful, but might be barely playable. And here, black has lots of options that are good for him. So, even if white lives. White living isn't the point. The point is that white would rather not live than do this. So, let's, for example, play here, here, and here. And white is now in huge trouble and has to play really accurately to not die. So, do we cut first? Probably we cut first. Probably. But the issue with cutting first is that the only reason that we even survive is because of this kind of thing, where you... Okay, so Papasnek asks, if white breaks through, doesn't black fall apart? Black doesn't fall apart. Look at this. Black has great shape. Black can even, black can cut the corner. Black can cut through this way. Black has so many options. White's shape is a dumpling. Black's really strong on the outside and on the right side. So, oops. So, this type of sequence, where white gets squeezed, is often good for black, even if white lives. So this is a mean move. Now, of course I'm not going to play here. I'm going to let the 3 stones go, right? So I'm not going to do anything about them, because living is worse than dying in this situation. And, the capture of 3 stones, of these 3 stones specifically, isn't that big yet. So, I would maybe be kind of fine with letting them go, But that's the whole reason he's playing the Atari. He wants to keep this option open to him. So there's a very, very specific reason why we are Atariing rather than not Atariing, and it's the exception, not the rule. Okay, so I didn't really want my opponent to get at me and make me heavy. Yeah, he makes white heavy. If I try to go out, then I'll be heavy. And actually, I found an interesting solution for this. I peeped here. And the whole idea of this peep is that if black now plays here, right, I can just jump. Now there's not a problem. Black isn't going to cut here, right? Like, I mean, what? So I basically fixed my problem with the group just by playing this exchange. I was pretty happy with this solution. And so I jumped, because I got to get my group out somehow. And then he tried to remind me, yo, your shape still isn't good. Okay, he peeped, and then he played here. And the idea of this move is that it's a sort of vital point. Nice exchange, oh thanks. The idea of this move is that it's kind of a vital point. And, you know, if white does the obvious thing... Yeah, 07's the other vital point, right? That's the thing, because this is a good idea that you can sometimes get from Sumego. That if you want to play a move, but another move counters it, you could try starting with the move. And that's why 07 is a local vital point. Now, what black did, I still don't know if it's good, but it's okay. Like, what black did was fine. It did... I'm gonna say it's questionable. So what black did from a shape perspective is really interesting. I'll show it first and then I'll talk about it. I played here because if I start by pulling out, then black hane, and I'm gonna have to make an empty triangle anyway. So I'd rather start with this move. And then black played something really cool. It looks cool. Is that you attach here. And the idea is if I were to, like, answer the attachment, then this is gonna happen. So black keeps making usage of this shortage of liberties of whites. So the only way I can get my group is by pushing and making an empty triangle. And even though I think the group does get out, my shape's a dumpling. So from a shape perspective, I want to discard this just directly. It's going to be... How do I get this guy out? Pro level confirmed, yeah. So... I mean, 07... I'm not sure 07's a good move, by the way. It's a good shape move. It looks good. But I don't know if it's actually good. So, I'm wondering... Yeah, Oscar's pretty strong. Yeah, I mean, I'm not pro level yet, unfortunately. I'm okay. But black doesn't find it so easy to play a move here. It's not as easy as I thought. He's alright, yeah. Maybe here. Maybe you just jump. And if white wants to get out, you probably turn. And you're probably gonna end up doing something like this. And this is playable for white. I mean, the shape isn't amazing. You have a little bit of a dumpling. But black's shapes aren't great either. This isn't so dissimilar to the game. So in this case, I'd keep more points on the lower side, but my shape in the center would be worse. So, okay, let's go back and contrast this to the game. I chose to prioritize my center shape, and I played this Kosumi, and black haned. Now, I think this hane is his first big mistake of the game. I mean, the AI doesn't care, but I don't care about the AI, sort of. So, I don't know. AI thinks that the move is fine. In my mind, the appropriate thing to do would be to play this way. And the reason is that you want to leave Aji in the corner. So, for example... You know, or even if you play this one or something, and later you want to play, you know, 03 or something, you want that Aji to be open in the corner. Let's say you play here. In the game, if black plays here, I'm just going to play here. And the reason is that black basically exchanged these things already, helping me. But if I don't exchange, then black has all kinds of cool combos he can pull, because these exchanges solidify my shape. Right now, my shape isn't that solid. So, black could start, I mean, just... very, I guess the very obvious type of thing you could do is just play here, here, and here, or even just connect, threatening to clamp, for example. Like, imagine you'd exchange these moves already, then white doesn't care about this hane. So, you know, like this, you have follow-up of clamp, you have follow-up of this, and clamp, and white's even dying, or kind of dying. So, these exchanges, as far as I could tell that black played in the game, sort of helped me. I didn't mind them, so I'm not sure why he played them, even. Oh, hello there, KJ01A. Welcome. So, okay, I jumped into the center, and here I sort of liked the game for white, again. Like, I didn't like the beginning, because even though I thought O10 is, well, O11 is an unsound cutting maneuver, I didn't deal with it well. So, I felt I felt myself to be under some pressure at some point. But black basically cashed out the pressure he had in the center in order to reduce the lower side and have this move as a follow-up later. Which means that I have fewer points, but it also means that I have much more control of the center than I had before. AI doesn't agree with you. Yeah, I mean, AI... I don't have that much respect for what the computer says sometimes, because from a white point of view, like, from a human point of view, like, humans are different to computers. AI is dumb. Okay, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. Oh, hello there, Neche. What does AI think about P4 and Q4? Well, the thing is, the AI doesn't care about P4 and Q4. I think the AI thinks it doesn't matter. That's what I remember from when I checked the game briefly with a computer. But in my mind, basically, okay, let me put it this way. At this point, I thought that black was kind of succeeding in putting me under pressure, even though O11 is a cut that I didn't think was good. I didn't deal with it correctly, and I figured that I'm under some pressure. So if black were to just jump here and bide his time, and then eventually, you know, black could even start by playing this, and this way, and then try to enclose me. Maybe this move? It seems a little bit strange to let my group get out and then use the Aji in the corner. So I figured that black had some pressure due to my shortage of liberty with these 3 stones, right? This whole exchange that black did is supposed to be bad. Like, I tell my students, don't play this Atari. But black's getting a lot of pressure off of this exchange. In the game, black gave up that pressure for some profit, right? Like, okay, I want to be fair here. I didn't think white's better. What I thought was that black was good before, and black didn't punish, right? It wants to play them too, but it's not a mistake to play them either. Okay, AI sometimes plays bad exchanges. It happens. Would Q3 at N3 have been better? Q3 at M3. You mean O3, right? You want to play here, I guess? Because N3 kind of doesn't help you because black pushes... Yeah, O3. So I thought about O3 briefly, but O3 has a big flaw. So it looks like O3 is helping the outside of the board, but it actually hurts the outside of the board. And the reason is this move. So black plays N5. And N5 carries a threat, which is that black can cut through this way. And you can either give away the corner, or you can play this, and you can have black squeeze you in this way. Which is terrible shape-wise, right? Like, white's shape efficiency is really bad here. So this connection looks like it helps the outside, but it doesn't, because it lets black play this move very easily. So let me put it this way. After black Atari's here, if black could magically move his stone here, he would. And the reason he would is that he doesn't have a cutting point, right? So I want to force black to play this Atari. I don't want to play here and then let black use this weakness next. So in my opinion, white would much, much rather connect here. AI thinks it gives you sent the endgame moves 100 moves from now, so it's fine, Kappa. Well, sometimes it kind of thinks like that. Okay, so I jumped. I was kind of happy with this position relative to before, because basically in my mind, A and B are Miai sort of on the lower side, and I don't have to worry about that too much, and I can just focus on playing in the center. And now, because white has gotten to spend a couple more moves in the center while black has been playing on the side of the board, I can afford to be a little bit more aggressive here. So I got to put some pressure on my opponent, which was fun. Obviously, KJ01 can beat AI blindfolded. I mean, I'm sure he can beat an AI. Isn't, like, G and Yuko still around or something like that? Anyway. So, I can't even count liberties. Oof. Is N7 possible instead of O7? I mean, N7's interesting. I think N7 is probably refuted by white just playing here. Probably. But it's an interesting move. White doesn't find it so easy to play a move here. That's an interesting suggestion, Guillaume. Probably the best thing I can see for white is you play this move, probably. Which is really, like, suspicious in terms of shape. But it gets you out, I guess. It does. So, black, what does black play here, even? Hard to see. So, even if something like this happens, white... Oh wait, white can't do this because black's gonna capture. You have to start with... starting with Atari is a little bit painful. But something like this is okay for white? Probably. Probably. And the reason it's okay for white is that even though white squeezed in a really weird shape, at least white's connected. So white doesn't have to worry about this group anymore. Conversely, black has some cutting points on the outside. So this is probably okay for white. But actually, your suggestion is very interesting. And N7's an interesting move. I'm not sure that's bad for black at all. I think he's just one of Bat's followers, so he has to believe that AI is bad. Oh, Kosumi bought on 9x9. I don't know what that is, but it sounds terrible. Does Bats believe that AI is bad? And why does he lose to them so often on his stream? Anyway, no one thinks AI is bad. Some people think AI suggests moves that mainly work if you can read like an AI. Or if your positional analysis / counting is god tier. Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of there's some things that AI like, and there's some things that humans like. And it's really hard to play like an AI. Like, in my opinion, some people think that you can emulate the computer and learn from the computer directly and try to play like it. And I think those people are either Shinjin Seo or they're wrong. So, you have to be very, very good. It's a little bit like, if you're... it's much easier to learn from someone that's a bit closer to your level than to learn from someone much better than you. So you can still learn from someone much better than you. Like, I can still learn from AI, but I think I learn more probably from someone who's like, you know, some mid-tier professional, probably. And also, and the other big thing about AI, like, the thing that makes AI especially hard to train with, so it's not just about what the difference is between the levels of the people, because that's actually not that important. Like, what's even more important is that AI doesn't think like people. Like, yeah, AI doesn't think like people do. So it's very hard to connect to it or understand what it thinks. Bat thinks that the culture that AI created is annoying, I think, but I shouldn't speak for him. It's like saying a professional is bad because he plays moves you can't read. I mean, I don't think anyone meant that AI are really dumb or really bad. I'm constantly arguing with Bat about his comments about AI. I don't know about that. Yeah, AI has a huge advantage of having no emotions, I agree. Hence, I believe Shinjin Seo is a sociopath. I don't know, he plays like one. I changed camps, all hail Kata-sensei. Oh. Renman in his videos also disagrees with AI sometimes, not that the suggestions would be bad, but just that he wouldn't be able to play them, so he sticks to something he likes. Yeah, so that's one big argument. Like, there's some positions where the AI says, oh, you're winning, you're hard winning, or you're better, and you're like, no, you aren't. Like, in human terms, no, you aren't. So the AI doesn't understand positions the same as humans. So sometimes I look at a position and I'm like, oh, this game, the AI says, oh, I might be able to win this game, or this game's close, and the player's like, no, I can't play this, and that happens very, very commonly. So I'd even go as far as to say that sometimes the AI is wrong. Just my personal opinion, the AI is wrong. Like, I'm weaker than the AI, just like my students are weaker than I am. But my students are right sometimes. Like, I have a lesson with my student, I'm like, I think this move is bad, and this is why. And my student's like, no, I think this move is good because of this. And then, later I check the computer, or they check the computer because why not? And the computer agrees with my student. That happens. I mean, more often the computer agrees with me because I'm better. But that doesn't mean that the student isn't right sometimes. And I actually sometimes think that the AI is just wrong. It happens. So, especially in Fuseki. I think AI Fuseki is suspicious. Sometimes. I like that take. Not sure which take at that point, but yeah. As a player, you have to trust yourself. Yeah, I think that's important. So, AI are typically not so good at Yosei. Really? I thought they're okay, but it's a similar situation with Q players in pro advice. There are some moves that pros are fond of, but Q players just cannot make work. Yeah. Also, Kata sucks at life and death, which is funny. Yeah, it does. One of AI's current weaknesses is liberty races. Like, big liberty races or big life and death scenarios are hard for AI to read out. At least Katago. Katago in 10 years will point out plenty of mistakes made by this year's Katago, yeah. AI would agree about a move, but if your student then you were to argue about a potential sequence, your student would almost never get it right over you. Maybe, yes, but still, if my student is like, I want to play this move because of this and this and this, right? And it's not like a reading sequence move, right? It's just like a judgment move. Then there's no reading behind it, necessarily. It's just, I prefer this move. And I'm like, I think this move is fundamentally bad because of this. Like, I think this move is incorrect. And, sometimes my student's right. Not often. So I think the AI is reasonable most of the time. It will, if you follow up a few moves, you'll see the reason for your initial move. I'm not sure I agree, actually. I find AI very hard to decipher. Like, what I found about AI is that I think I understand it, and then I don't. Like, in my opinion, I never understood AI. I project my understanding of Go onto the moves that the AI tells me. Right? It can't explain itself, so I naturally assume its moves based on my worldview my view of the board of Go. And that's very dangerous. Like, in my opinion, studying with AI can even affirm your bad habits because you project yourself onto it. That's my personal experience. But yeah. AI aren't good at Yosei if they're ahead because then they don't need to be. Yeah, I guess so. Sorry, did my joke derail the review? I mean, people started popping off in chat. It's fine. I don't know. Chatting's good as well. I mean, but okay. Yeah, maybe getting back to the game would kind of be good at some point. We were up here, and yeah, we get to this move where I think here, when I play this kind of move, you can see that my intentions aren't absolutely, I'm going to say, benevolent towards Black's group. Oh, Mongolians, thank you for following. Wait, Baba107 followed like 3 minutes ago and I missed that somehow. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, thank you to both of you. AI has the Markov property in a way humans don't. That is to say, we have plans in our mind, but AI evaluates every move without preconceived notions of 3 moves ago. So it can pivot to keep 20 plans alive at once more easily. Yeah. AI changes its mind, for example. a friend of mine is Fordan EGF, and he's never had a human teacher. He just tries to copy AI to the best of his knowledge. I mean, outliers exist. He watches AI versus AI matches on his second monitor all the time. I mean, Fordan isn't that far in context. It's somewhat far, but I don't know. I guess there are outliers. But yeah, it's cool that AI exists and everyone has ideas about it. Yeah, I get that makes for interesting discussion and derailings of reviews, I suppose. Katago estimates point margin instead of winning percentage, I think, so that would make sense. Yeah, I mean, Katago's probably more accurate in terms of endgame, for example. My intentions are not the most benevolent, is that the Marauders map? Yeah, so basically, you can see here that I'm sort of feeling myself a bit in this fight. So I'm looking at this group as a target. Now, of course, I know it isn't a target. Not a target I can easily attack, because at the end of the day, I have 2 weak groups, basically. Whereas Black has 1. So I have more problems than Black does. But I wanted to put some pressure on Black. And afterwards, when I reviewed the game with Artem agreed with me. Now, game continues. And okay, here Artem made a decision. So he played something that I thought was bad. Like, okay, whenever you play this kind of 2-space jump, you should probably consider what happens if Black cuts it. Right? You should probably consider it if Black cuts it, because it is possible to cut it. And usually it isn't good. Usually cutting this shape isn't good. That's a good rule of thumb. This cutting shape will bring more trouble to Black than good. However, it can be done. And I basically read this cut, and I was like, okay, this isn't a big deal. And then he played this cut, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Let's see what happens. And we basically played the sequence that I read that I thought would be good for White, and the game continued. So we apparently had different opinions. I bet he watched YouTube streams, books of Joseki's, not only AI. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe Asura Tokina's friend didn't just learn off of AI. Maybe he did. I know who he's talking about, but I don't know that much. So books about Joseki. No, his Fuseki is actually good. Yeah, I want to say books of Joseki's are not very helpful. That I don't think they are, because just like, I mean, they're helpful, but not because Joseki are so useful to know. It's just because of general principles you might learn coincidentally because you're studying Joseki. Just looked over the Ben Zero game, what the fuck? Well, okay, I mean, if somebody else wants to watch the shit show, I'm gonna post the link. Wait, where's the link? I'll post it in chat if anyone's interested in... This is like the most entertaining game I played of the tournament. Yeah, nice game. Yeah, I still haven't like contacted Ben Zero to see if he's recovered from that one. So, yeah. Okay, so back to this game. Artem cut, which I really didn't expect. And the reason I didn't expect him to cut is because I read this sequence. Okay, I geta you. Okay, you get a dumpling, and okay, I run out with my stone. And I figured this would be good for me because if Black tries to play this, I'm easily going to live on the side of the board. And Black's shape is really inefficient, and I have no troubles on the lower side. And, the shape is really suspicious for Black. Now, the issue for White here is that, remember how previously this stone was pretty strong because it's connected to this group, right? This whole, I have, a sort of snake going down this way. And it's not that weak. Now, after Black cut me, and this is why Artem did this. I'm not sure if he should have, but that's why he did it. Black basically tried to make this heavy and attack it. So this isn't a not very Artem-like way to play. Like, Artem would usually be making good shapes and, you know, playing nice sequences and not thinking about cutting points that are usually, like, out of the scope of thought of... Like, you don't usually look at this cut. If you're the person who's making the two-space extension, so we go back to when I played this move, you probably want to verify that cutting is bad for your opponent, but if you're the opponent, you don't even have to think of cutting here. Like, not really, because it's usually bad. So you would maybe not even think of this sometimes, but Artem did it, and I think the reason he did it is that he felt uncomfortable about his center group, and he wanted to find a way to make a better power dynamic in the center. And his solution was, I'm going to cut off these stones, the E8, G8, etc. stones. And basically, that way, I can basically pressure these stones instead of my own stones being pressured. Now, that's a beautiful game, the one against Ben Zero, yeah. Ben Zero, 3-down on KGS kind of burns. I mean... Yeah, improving fast, he was 2Q 2 months ago. I mean, European players don't play for their OGS rank. So you should look at their Fox rank, maybe. For, you know, some of them take Fox games rather seriously. But yeah, OGS doesn't matter too much. Also, the OGS rank system is strange. Yeah, oh, I know. Okay, never mind. So yeah, but it's cool. Ben Zero, 2Q. Yeah. Still somewhat funny, yeah. Dan also, thank you for following, welcome. So, Black went for this move, and this move was interesting. I sort of expected it, because if you think about the usual, like, shoulder hit, I guess, when you shoulder hit and White answers, it's basically walking into these stones becoming really weak, and White's whole position is falling apart. So basically, I had to play accurately here to not fall apart, but when I played accurately, the game was better for me, so that's good. So, I played E10, and E10's an interesting move. So the idea, right, is that if Black Hane is here, and I cut, right? And now this stone is cut, and I didn't think it has a way to really live. So, I mean, this cut looks kind of menacing, but as far as I could read, I can deal with it by just playing this, and Black's 2 stones are dead. It looks really tenuous. It looks like, oh, maybe this is scary and, you know, maybe Black's gonna make 2 liberties. As far as I could read, that wasn't really the case. Or, okay. I'm not being entirely correct here. Black can make 2 liberties. Well, more liberties, but then the game gets really complicated after I run out with these stones. And I was kind of trying to read this fight, and it was a big mess. I ended up concluding that White can escape. Like, I have this type of move now. So, I figured I can escape if Black cuts this way. And, yeah. I got a recent 4 stones jump in rank, but it only appears on desktop. Yeah, OGS solid, non-buggy server, I guess. That game really deserves the what the fuck rating. I mean, you tried playing that game. Hard game to play. Go's a complicated game. Of course it looks like a mess. We were in Byoyomi, you know? I don't think it's as bad as it looks. Okay, so to this game, I had to read this cut very carefully. No, I am retired. Okay, yeah, you don't play Go anymore, I see. I had to read this very carefully, but of course the other thing you need to read, and this is really important, Black can make a fully split Keima here. Like, you take this exchange at face value, right, as an exchange. It's a terrible exchange for White, because these 2 stones are a fully split Keima, right? So you have to analyze this move. And what I figured about this move is that I'm gonna push here, and Black's gonna push here, and like, I'm gonna probably play something like this move, and now I've enclosed Black's group, and that actually doesn't mean the game's good for me, because Black's group can live locally. I mean, if Black really needs to, Black can pull out all the emergency Sente moves and live pretty comfortably. So, cutting off the group doesn't automatically mean that the game's good for me, because Black has some resources to live with on the top side. Not on the top side, in the center. And I hurt the left side, you know, quite badly. Now, what I figured was that, okay, Black's gonna live somehow by playing some wonky Sente moves. And these Sente moves are very helpful to white. I mean, imagine black has to play all of these moves. Maybe black doesn't have to play all of these. He can economize and try to minimize the damages on the outside. And wait, how do you live here actually? Probably this move lives. Yeah, this move lives. So you could live like this, but that actually gives white lots of Sente moves. So all of the profit of these extra stones, right? We said that the fully split came on the left side is a bad shape. Giving white all of these moves on the outside is going to have negative repercussions for black throughout the game. So I figured, okay, even if black lives, black's going to give me a lot of extra stones. So I figured, okay, this is probably fine for me. And if I remember correctly, the computer wanted black to split the Kema and live in the center. I think it did. Maybe not exactly this way, but it didn't want black to hunt it. So it was surprised black hunted. And I forget the reasoning why, because I would have hunted as black. I would have hunted. Like this. And I thought what black did in the game was fine. And we get to this position where basically I took the left side, and black defended his cut on the outside. Right? With E13. And the game reaches a sort of state where we stopped fighting and I have to think again. Right? And okay, the first question, and I'll ask the audience about this. Why did I play this move? Because I think a lot of people would just play like this directly. And I know because there's a small part of me, like, I have like a 10Q in me that wants to just turn at C12. So why does white play B10 first? B10's the best move. PezXman. Oh, thank you for following. Welcome. Oh, fully split Kema. Yeah, fully split Kemas aren't fun. Because the point with a fully split Kema is that you don't, like... When you have a fully split Kema, the stones aren't really, like... coordinating, let's say. Can you review the second game of you versus Artem, please, Kappa? Oh, I don't know if I want to refund that later or not. Threatened C9. Well, threatened C9 is certainly part of it. Kosumi obsession. Well, session. That is part of it, yeah. Oh, I thought B10 was a normal move. Then you have a good shape intuition. So, first of all, yes, Kosumi's better shape. So one of the reasons that you play like this instead of pushing, because it looks kind of natural, because if you play this way, well then black's gonna get more of a presence on the left side, right? Like, why don't you want to take the left side? And the main reason you do this is, as far as I can tell, Sente. So if you do this, then on the next move, black can play here and put you in huge trouble. So I had a fully split Kema and couldn't walk for a year. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, fully split Kemas are bad news. For your stones, at least. Your stones won't be able to walk for a year. Okay, so I figured I want to add a move anyway. Now, if you want to add a move anyway, would you rather that your opponent have this shape which can't be cut, and that black can Tanuki, or, black won't maybe won't Tanuki, but he might counterattack in the center and try to cut my stones. He might, enter the corner. He basically has a free move. If you start like this, then black has a shape problem that he has to protect on the outside. So even though this move gets you much fewer points on the left side, you get Sente, and black's shape on the outside is worse. So I figured this was the better move. Okay, so we get it to this point where I didn't really know who's better. Like, okay, I thought I was probably slightly better. Slightly. But only slightly. Really, like, I thought the game was, for all intents and purposes, even. And this is where I played what I think is kind of the losing move. Kind of. And, yeah, I should have played very, very differently here, let's say. I could have, I think this move is one of my problems. Like, if I didn't think the way I did to play this move, I would be much better. than I currently am. So that's a big problem I have. Yeah, I don't know what people would play here though, because basically the fight has stopped and you need to think what to do. And there's a lot of factors you need to take into account. One of them is that this group isn't very strong. Like, you know, at this point, black has connected with the entire left side and is kind of solid. And is going to make eyes on the left side. So, you know, black's group is pretty strong. And therefore, white's group isn't that strong anymore. It's like white was powerful in the center and had the ability to attack black. Now that black has lived and white's cashed out a bunch of points on the left side, the center is weaker. Some other stuff you want to consider. In order to cut here, black really destroyed his own shape. So something like this Hane looks like an idea because you want to go after black's dumpling, right? Like, what does black do? So those are the two main options I'd be looking at. No, not options, but those are the two things I want to address. So black has a weakness on the lower left and white has a weakness in the center, right? And if you think about it from a knowledge perspective, is going after the dumpling big enough? Yes, yes. And I'll explain why in a second. So black plays here, right? And it's center for white's group. Like, I'm going to have to connect at M2. So black is solidifying his shape and paving the way for himself to make points in the corner while making white connect in Gote. Now let's compare that to if white plays here. You know, and, you know, random move for black. I mean, of course you're not going to play this. It's just filler move. Then white can even play here next and attack the whole thing. Like, this black thing is a group that could become in trouble. Like, could get into trouble. So actually, H4 is a move that's much more severe than I would have expected it to be at the time. So during the game, I actually focused on N13's weakness, and I didn't really know what to do about it, so I had some ideas. I mean, one of them was to just play this and, like, try to make life on the side eventually, so that I don't have to worry about the group. The other thing I thought was I could link it up to this side. Like, you know, if this suddenly just became a group, then I'm fine, right? So my choice ended up being G16, and the idea behind G16 is that I even have some ideas of playing L16 next and starting a different fight on the top side. So I have some ideas of my own of breaking what used to be black's top side and starting a fight there. And the other reason I played G16 is that I want to play this peep next, and that after black plays here, which is sort of what happened in the game, I can kind of go back to attacking black's group because it doesn't have that many eyes. So it had a couple of ideas. It wanted to enable D14 peep, and it wanted to basically link up all of white's stones. And if you ask the computer, this move is minus 4% or something like that. It doesn't think it's the worst move in the world. It really wants to play H4. But if you play it, says not a big deal. Now, with that said, this is absolutely the losing move. And the reason it's the losing move is that it sets a precedent. Oh, Super Cladden, thank you for following. Welcome. So, yeah, so this move sets a precedent. And the precedent is that I've decided that the way to save my group is by connecting it this way. Now, just for a second, I want to, like, illustrate what that's going to look like. It's going to look sort of like this. Getting crowded in here, time for the mask. Oh, I guess there's a few of you. But, I mean, these stones are crowded also. I mean, the point is, in order to connect this stone, I'm going to be able to, like, I'm going to be forced to add a lot of gote moves, a lot of dame moves. So with that in mind, just think about how my plan is really inefficient shape-wise and how I'm going to play a lot of useless moves. A much more efficient plan would be just play H4. And the reason playing H4 is better is that, okay, in theory my group is weak, in theory, but you're black, you have the floor, how do you attack this thing? Like, how do you attack this really abstract, like, group of stones that has no eyes, but also has lots of places to run, lots of places to make eyes? How do you do it? Very hard. Makaman, thank you for following. So, wow, lots of followers this stream. Like, a lot of you. Wow, cool. Much appreciated. So this group is hard to attack. J14. Okay, so we have a suggestion. We play J14. And J14 has a good idea. You want to destroy white's shape in the center. You want to make these extra stones like J12 and G13. You want to make them sort of less efficient. And yeah, it's a decent move. Now, the kind of thing white can do is just play P15. So you're making a nice K-mesh shape that's efficient from your own stones. You're preparing to play P17 to break onto their top side. And, you know, if black kind of defends his corner, you can even play something like N15. Right? And if you play this, then you can play this and just break into the top side. And this group is so hard to kill. This group is so slippery. And I'm also taking all of your points on the top side. I was thinking I can maybe just steal the corner with Q17 and then be like, I'm gonna live anyway. That's too much. No, we're not desperate. White's better here, Ascor. White's better. White's winning this game at the moment. CHRXNX, thank you for following. So, finally an English language ghost streamer. Oh yeah, glad you're here, I suppose. So good content makes sense that the followers will show up. I'm so happy that Daniel rated. Oh wow, thank you, way cheesy. So yeah, we're not desperate at all, by the way. So this game's better for white. White has the lead on points. Like, if you think about it, on the left side, white made lots and lots of points while black lived in Gote. So now white has the floor to actually do something now. So if I play something like J4, black doesn't have that many points anywhere and doesn't have good shape on the lower side. And if he can't attack this group effectively, he's busted. Now, the reason I played G16 is that I sort of trusted in black's abilities to attack this group. But I shouldn't, because it's really hard. Like, if I were the one attacking, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, I'd probably play here, and then after this move and this, I mean, white's group is making so much ice space, just easily. And, you know, it's not super easy for white. That's an overstatement. But the game isn't so good for me, I can just make no effort and win by connecting all my stones. So, you know, sometimes you gotta do something a little bit more difficult, right? So just L15 and take points in the same time is enough. Not sure that will be sent. Yeah, L15 I think is a good move. You're trying to make points on the side, but keep in mind that you're not going to that easily make points on the side, because when white plays this type of move, you're going to be badly reduced, after which white's going to play J18, and then hard to make points on the top side still. What about K16 for white instead of J16? K16? You want to attach? I'm not that weak. Wow. Okay, so I had reasons against L16. So L16 is sort of a more aggressive move that kind of tries to go at J16. And my refutation for it was pause for effect and or for me to remember. Because, you know, L16 was a move I was constantly considering. What if black plays this really weird attachment? I don't know if it's good, I'm just thinking about it. So we play this, we sacrifice the shape, and then we're like, you're dead. But this probably doesn't work. If white lives in here, black's in trouble. So this looks risky. This looks really risky for black. If white lives, the game's over. So, why didn't I want to play this move? Oh, I remembered. Okay, K14. K14's why. K14 and or J14. So, the whole plan was that, okay, L16 is sort of an aggressive move. Did you read if you can live here after that in the game? I didn't read, but basically I had a different reason why I didn't like L16. Like, I had a better refutation, or a safer refutation for black, which made me not want to play L16 anyway. Like, now I could read it, but that I don't care about reading it if I find a better move for black anyway. And my refutation was J14 and or K14. And the reasoning is, okay, J16 stone isn't weak because my shape in the center is crippled. And eventually I'm going to have to defend the weakness by playing something like M14, eventually. Now you want to play O16? Yeah, O16. You can play this. I mean, I'm living the group. Living the group isn't the point. Living the group is easy. It's about how you do it. And I wasn't, let's say, flattered with the idea of this exchange, because if I play this move, and black plays this move, for example, it's not like black made that many points on the top side anyway, right? So I didn't think this area is actually that big. Like, to me, it's sort of empty. Sort of. Like, the reason I want to play L16 isn't to make points on the top, it's to attack J16. So if I can't do that, and I'm gonna play here, here, and like here or something to just make eyes and shape. I mean, black can maybe fight, but that isn't the point. Do this and lose Sente, then I don't think it's worth it. Now, I'm not saying this is better than what I did in the game, or less, like, well, I'm not saying it's worse, because what I did in the game was also bad. I'm just explaining why I didn't do it. This is viable for white, just like G16 is viable for white. From some perspective, L16 is better. From some perspective. And one of the reasons I really don't like G16 is that G16 is afraid of an invisible threat. Like, if we think about threats on the board, white's threat is very specific. I'm going to play H4, and then your shape's going to cry. And if you Tanuki, I'm going to play here, and your whole group's going to cry. Because when you play here, I'm going to play here, and then I'm going to take all your eyes, and then your whole group's going to be weak, and have fun defending that. Like, have fun defending this dumpling in this group that has no eyes. I mean, black will survive. You're not dying here or anything, but you're gonna suffer. And conversely, what is black's threat in the center? We don't know. Black's threat is maybe playing this move after white has so many different ways to make shape. You know, after white has this Sente move, and, you know, like, later can creep into M16, and I don't know. I'm saying if you play M14 to try to take away the eye. I'm trying to illustrate how slippery white's group is. There isn't a clear plan of attack for black. There's a very, very, very clear plan of attack for white. And that's why I should enact my visible threat rather than preventing my opponent's invisible threat. And I failed to do that. And let's look at the game a bit further, because the computer actually still thinks that I'm doing better here. Oh, OGS analysis, we don't care. I mean, OGS analysis misreads, like, yeah, I don't know. It reads worse than most illiterate people. But okay. So I connected on the top side with M2, and now I enacted my plan of D14, and another of the reasons I play D14 here is that I'm still playing with my plan of sort of connecting the stones. So if I don't do anything, black plays a move like J14, and it's really possible, like, I don't see a way to connect all my stones. There's just too many threats. And remember that even though I can live by playing a move like this, that wasn't the mindset I had. So I played here. I got these moves in Sente, and I played B17. And actually, one of the ideas behind B17 is that who cares about my group if I'm threatening black's group, right? I mean, why not? I mean, I can threaten black's group as well. And, you know, if you look very carefully, you'll see that this group has a deceptively small amount of eyes. Isn't black winning at the moment? Black isn't winning now. The game's kind of close, because I've been playing bad the last few moves. I gave black the crucial point at H3, and I played G16, which isn't a very efficient move. But the game's still fine for white. So, you know, the top side is much smaller than it seems, because whenever I want, I'm going to play here, and like, basically reduce the top side to this much. And then, you know, you can consider I might play Sansan as well. And, you know, something that Artem told me, right, my opponent from the game, he told me, okay, like, whoever gets C3 is likely to win. That's what he told me. Like, at this point, he's like, whoever gets C3 in might win. And there's a very strong argument for white to just you know, maybe I can make a couple of good exchanges that make it even more clear that my group's gonna live without adding another move. And then I'm just gonna play c3, and I just take all the money. And black can try to kill me here, but he's gonna fail. And white might still be better here. So the way I played it was that I kind of try to pressure black's group, and by way of that passively connect my group. Because I mean, I'm good enough to know that I don't want to play a move like this and take gote just to make my group safer. That's disgusting. Like, I'm not going to play dame to try to make this work. Especially when, you know I have some ice around p15. So I kind of try to use black's own weaknesses to connect my own group. For reference, I'm getting kind of close to being under time pressure here. Kind of close. Pretty close at this point. It's happening soon. And black was like, no, you were weak as well, right? So now this becomes a little bit of a war. Black has this move in Sente and this move in Sente. And can easily live with this move, because he already has an eye in the center. So just keep that in mind, that black, I'm kind of sort of threatening black's group, but not really. And that's one of the problems with my whole plan. Hunte is disgusting, not inherently, but some Huntes are disgusting. Like that one, like J14. It's okay. Not this. So, and again, I figured I don't want to connect L12 in gote. So here I started playing on the top side. And here I again made some really big mistakes. So something that my opponent mentioned after the game, and he was correct, was that I kind of lost the plot here. Like, what I have to try to do is live in Sente to play c3. Like, Artem, he likes points. So he knows where the points are at, and the points are at c3. So if I can live my group and then Tenuki, that's great. Might even be better then. So what I have to do here is probably something still along the line. I still have to do this, still. He recommended some sequence like this, and then play here. And okay, if now black tries to cut me in the center and say that he's killing me, it's highly, highly unlikely that this dies. Highly. Because, it's even living... I mean, it might live in a crude way. But it's living. So if... The point is, I should be looking for something like this. I should be looking for a way to just get Sente to get off this side of the board. What I did was that I tried to live by worming my way into his corner. And it kind of works, except it doesn't. And yeah, so the real issue here is that I wormed into black's corner. So it looked like I got a reduction. But just consider at the end of this sequence, everything that happened. Okay, black ended up taking 08. And the reason he takes 08 is that even though c3 is bigger on points, like this is bigger on points for black, this move is kind of Sente, because I'm threatening to kill with b16 on the the entire black dragon. So the center capture is reverse Sente, black played it. And if we look at the board position now, I did technically I did technically get Sente, but I have paid so much for it, for this attack. I took points on the top side, but I lost them on the right side. So I kind of just traded points there, I didn't gain. And I gave black this cut, which is absolutely massive. Like, black got 12 points of free real estate just off of this sequence. And the thing is, at this point, I'm in terrible time pressure. Like, I have 20 seconds left every move. It's Fisher time, but I was not incrementing here. I was running on increment, not accumulating increment. And later in the game, the computer told me that the game is even here. Still. Like, I'm a couple of points behind if I take Sansan. Well, not if I take Sansan. If I, take care of some Sente moves on the top side, so I just play like this, and black plays k18 and I play here, I'm still, only slightly behind. And, Artem, he's too damn professional. He's better at endgame than I am. He would win this position. But the point is, the game wasn't nearly as bad for me as I thought. And during the game, it was very hard for me to count this position objectively, because I can count the points, okay, but it was hard for me to evaluate how much endgame I can get on the top side without giving black's c3. So if I play c3 directly, black's gonna definitely take Sente, and then end up playing something like here. And this kind of move is devastating to my shape, because if I try to cut, then remember how my dragon had no eyes? Yeah, it has no eyes, so I can't really do this. So I'm gonna have to end up playing something very passive here, and this gives black lots and lots of points. So I have to play a move on the top side, but I have to basically get the right, let's say, balance. And this was very hard for me to evaluate. I was expecting black to take the corner with b4 and this. And, you know, this position wasn't so easy for me to count while I was reading ahead. And instead of counting by points, I counted by mistakes. Like, I was like, oh, not by mistakes, but at some point in the game beforehand, I thought the point score is sort of even, and it depends on who gets c3. Satya Graha, thank you for following. Wait, Satya sounds awfully like Satya, if you know what I mean. But yeah, thank you. And my evaluation was that since this point in the game, like, and by this point I mean more like here, before I played g16, I was very sure that I had lost something. I was very sure that I have gotten a loss, because it was like I was forced to connect in Dame in the center, in Gote, and pay black the option to get n9, right? And also, even though I reduced the top side, black basically traded it for the right side. So I was sure I'd made a loss, and I'm correct. The thing is, I had misjudged just how big the game was, like, just how big my lead was at the beginning. So I had absolutely just really misjudged that beforehand I was actually quite good. Another Go player named Satya, yeah, who'd have thought? Isn't f6 big? f6. I mean, I can get f6. f6 is probably an interesting question move. Like, it's just an exchange I can make. Black will probably answer like this, and it's just a big exchange. It's nowhere near big enough that black is going to bother to play it in reverse Sente anytime soon. So it's the kind of Sente move that it doesn't hurt to make, but you're also not in a hurry to make because it's not big enough for your opponent to play it in reverse Sente. So Satyagraha is peaceful protest. Oh, wait, in which language? I don't know anything. Oh, Sanskrit. I see. Wow. What do I know? So basically, my decision to go crazy here, because I played K17's crazy. K17's really crazy. And my decision here was based on 20 seconds of evaluating what had happened up to this point and deciding that from a position that I judged was even, I have lost points. And I had lost points, I was just better before, so apparently here the game's dead even. And this crazy sequence is actually just bad for me. And the reason it's bad for me is that, okay, this looks good. It looks good. And it looks good because I'm making extra points. I mean, you know, I got this, you know, well, actually, wait, let's first look at what my plan was. Had black blocked, I was going to play K15, and I was going to connect here. And the whole idea behind this move is that whichever way black connects, I'm going to cut the other side and go crazy. That was my plan. Because I'm behind, I'm going to do something interesting. But black basically accepted my terms here. And the problem I have now, black actually played g17. The problem I have now is that I can't play here again because of the aforementioned g15 cutting off my dragon. So I have to basically connect here. And then when black plays here, I have a problem, which is that A and B are miai. Like, I didn't get Sente. I need to get Sente here. And if we look at the original, like, point in the game, this is a much better way to lose Sente. Like this, we can let B4 happen, and then we're going to be able to play K18 endgame, which is really big. So actually, in the game, even though K17 pushes for more, it gets me less. It actually gets me less. And this is a point in the game where I'm in real trouble. Satya is truth. Oh, I see. Cool. The truth of peaceful protest. Something like that. K17 looks crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. And the thing is, it's not because it doesn't work. K17 kind of works. I mean, I'm good. Like, K17 kind of works. Kind of. It's really hard to refute. Like, if you just go, like, trying to kill the stone, you're in for a world of hurt. Like, you know, like this, and white connects, and suddenly you have 2 cutting points, and then you play here. I probably can't cut because of this problem, but I might be able to get away with playing G18, and it's just crazy. And, you know, this type of position is really crazy because Black does have ways of cutting off my group, but Black's own group isn't alive. So let's look at some sequence like this. Here. Oh, this one's really bad for me, actually. I can't do this one. This one doesn't work. So I'd probably have to play something more along the lines of this, then try to live inside. Black's group isn't alive. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I mean, this group doesn't have any eyes. Now, the issue is that this is worse than I thought it was for me during the game. What if I play this one? Because if I'm not going to connect on the first line, I might as well play it this way. Looks like eyes can... I mean, where can they be formed? So let's look at such a sequence. I mean... where does Black form eyes here? N15. I mean, N15 is already taken, right? There's no space for Black. None. Now, the issue for White here is that White's gonna die inside anyway. White can live inside? No. White's dying inside. So there's lots of issues with this sequence. It's a Desperado sequence. So, like, I don't think White's doing well here, because I'm kind of conveying what my idea was, but it doesn't really work, because Black has lots of options here. I mean, Black can... Yeah, too many liberties for Black. So Black could, you know, Black can just push like this, and play here, and White's dying inside. So, and actually this type of sequence isn't terrible for me, because if I sack the top side, which was Black's anyway, and I get sent to play c3, it's not the end of the world. But Black's not in trouble here. So, basically, yeah, it's... Oh wait, this is wrong variation. So, I was going for some Desperado move, which is not entirely crazy, but it's a little bit crazy. And it shouldn't work. But basically, Black's attitude was really good here, because he's like, I don't care. I want Senta to play b4, and the game's over. And I saw this, so now I went for something really, really crazy, and just lost the game immediately. So I played L17, I connected my stones, and then I was thinking, oh, let's live on the top side. And then this is hopeless. Like, you can't do this. It doesn't work, because if you consider this as Black's Sente, because we're threatening to cut a Q17, you know, like let's imagine I do this, and then I let Black connect here. I mean, no. I mean, okay, first of all, Black is still killing me, but even if something like this happened and I lived, think of the consequences, right? Black got so much endgame on the top side, Black got the Q18 stone, Black got sent to play b4. Living inside like this is just absolutely impossible. And actually here, the game ended in somewhat abrupt fashion because I ran out of time. Now, I didn't really run out of time. I had 2 seconds left on my clock. I played my move, and there was this OGS bug that... like, you can actually see it. I recorded my screen while playing, and I checked the screen recording afterwards. On my end, it told me I have 2 seconds left. So I played 018, which is a crazy move that doesn't work. The game ended and nobody got c3. Yeah, nobody got c3. Artem must have been so sad. Like, Artem was dreaming of c3. And in the end, I didn't manage to let him play it. Or I didn't even take it myself. Nobody got it. So, yeah, I ran out of time due to a bug. So I played this move and it didn't register on the server. But at that point, like Artem very nicely offered, yeah, you know, we can keep playing the game, right? Like, you know, bugs happen. Yeah, the bug where the move sort of appeared, but you still lose on the clock. Yeah, that's the funny thing. On Artem's side, the move had appeared for him. Like, he could see the move on his screen, even though I couldn't. So he had received the move. I had played it with 2 seconds on my clock. It's that OGS bug, yes. But I was like, okay, whatever, I resign here. This position is, like, completely hopeless. So, yeah, I just resigned here, and we let it go. So, yeah, and I got knocked out. So this was the quarterfinals. It's a best-of-3 series, and I lost game 2, and I just got knocked out 2-0. So I went into the quarterfinals. Well, not into quarterfinals. I went into the losers bracket to decide 5th to 8th place. Man, that sucks. I mean, this guy's the 2nd strongest player in Europe. I can live with losing to him for now, as long as I beat him eventually. Interestingly, I'm currently 0-4 against Artem Kachanovsky. I'm 0-4 against both him and against Ilya, because they're kind of good. But yeah, and until relatively recently, I had no wins against professional players, but that's about to change next game, because next game I'll show a win against a professional player. So earlier someone mentioned, oh, you won against Andrii, I haven't been following the games. Nice. Yeah. So, indeed, I beat Andrii Kravets next game, who's a 1-dan professional, and I'll probably show that game next. Yeah, so wasn't the point to play on OGS and not KGS to prevent this issue? The point of playing on OGS is that they do Fisher time, so yeah. Andrii is, I think, 0-14 against Ilya. Jesus Christ, is that true? Wow. I wouldn't be super surprised, but I'm a little bit surprised. So, still was a nice game. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the game was okay. I had a decent to good position for a lot of the game, and at some point, I was better, like considerably better. I didn't think I was considerably better. I thought I'm a bit better. But the losing plan this game was G16. And the whole reason G16 is the losing plan is that because of the attitude behind G16, I mean, G16 in itself is not a very bad move because it does a lot of things. It prepares this move, makes this move an option. It even makes some points. It's not a terrible move. But throughout the game, I made a lot of terrible decisions based on the logic of G16. So I ended up playing a lot of gote, like, dame moves in the center, including playing, M11 in Sente. Well, I had to basically play L12, and black cannot cut because I'd kill like this. So black plays here, and then I have to connect in gote, allowing him Sente endgame. And... not Sente endgame. It's just allowing him endgame, I suppose. And this whole thing where I had to add so many dame moves to live with this stick was how I lost the game. So this whole, like, sequence that started after G16, White's whole attitude was wrong, and I lost a better position here. Absolutely no guarantee that I would have won had the game gone into an end game, but this was the losing attitude for me. So 08 was the key point. 08? I mean, 08 was a key point, yeah. 13-0 against Andrii. Ilya's just really strong, though. I mean, Andrii's a strong player. He's rated about 2700 usually. So, when you become professional in Europe, you get reset to 2700 rating, and Andrii has managed to keep that rating. And he occasionally does well in professional events. But I would say that performance-wise, he's one of the weaker professionals. Like, as far as professional players can be, he's low-hanging fruit. So, even against Artem, Ilya leads 29-13. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. I mean, Ilya's just a boss in Europe. And actually, one of the reasons that makes him a boss is that everyone calls him the boss. So, like, there's a sort of psychological intimidation. Last stream, I reviewed a couple of Ilya's games, and I spent a long time talking about, I think, why Ilya is the best player in Europe, and like, why he has such a grip. And I think to a large extent, it's that the legend supersedes the player. Like, at this point, he's just very well-known, very prolific, and it's hard to play against him just psychologically. Also, his playstyle is really hard to handle from a psychological perspective, especially when you know who's playing against you. That's definitely a thing. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you explained stuff very clearly. Thank you. That's the idea, I suppose. So okay. This game, fun game. I think I played quite well for most of the middle game. You know, I had a better position, but eventually didn't work out. And a wonderful speaking voice. That's a lot of compliments, I guess. Thank you, my people. So okay. Let's find my game against Andrii. So, where are you? Where are you? Okay, there we are. So this is my game against Andrii. Let's update the overlay. It was white again. Yeah, it was white 2 games in a row. Oh, Moyo game. I'm not the one with the Moyo. I'm not the one with the Moyo. I'm sorry. So actually, you know, Tommy, like, browser is my student, and basically, I told him, oh, in the group stage, I played against a bunch of territorial players, so I had to make points, and like, it was a strategic thing. You know, I'm sorry, you know, like, because I'm like, you know, I've been playing Moyo for like the majority of the last couple of years. But in this tournament, if you look through my games, it's territory, 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 cash, cash, territory. And basically, browser was like, I'm disappointed. I'm like, no, 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 I'll play a Moyo game for you now because Andrii, because strategical reasons, it's fine to play Moyo against Andrii. And then the game panned out, and I, you know, Andrii got this. Gone full capitalist question mark, yeah. So, almost looks like Texas in the middle. Well, Texas lost by 1.5 points. So, yeah. So, let's see. Andrii. So, I mean, sometimes you want to play... I mean, I didn't particularly want to play Moyo because one of the things that happens to me with Moyo is that I want to play it so badly. Right? I wanted to play Moyo so badly that I, like... that I make concessions on the board. Right? I play bad moves in order to force my Moyo dream. So one of the bad habits that have had in the past relating to Moyo is... Wait, let's disable AI review. One of the bad habits I've had in the past is to force Moyo whether it's good or not. And that's a habit I've had to fix. So if I can go for Moyo opportunistically, I may, but some games it just doesn't happen. And Andrii is someone who plays Moyo himself very often. So, you know, it sort of ended up panning out that, you know, I didn't play Moyo. You know, and at this point, I've gotten kind of used to playing for territory because I played 7 games in which all of them I was ahead on territory, which is really weird to say because if you look at most of my tournament games throughout 2020, like online tournaments, I'm like big Moyo player. So yeah, that's interesting style transition. It's very weird for me to play like that because I am used to having the advantage in power on the board, not the advantage in money and like in hard cash, and that's a very interesting dynamic. On one hand, I'm happy that I can play multiple styles at a high level. I guess I'm sort of versatile. Well, not, I mean, somewhat high level. So, yeah, this game is, this is what a weird shape. Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting game. So, okay. Let's see. I'm white. And, you know, I play my Kosumis. I like the Kosumi a lot these days. And come on, I mean, I tried. I mean, this is the type of move I play by my own, like, you know, if you ask something like Lila Zero, it'll say this move is like -3% or something. But I like this type of move because it creates a very flexible shape towards the center. It sets up N16 shoulder hit later. So I like playing this type of move, and it's the kind of move that can often end up with you having a Moyo, right? So I tried. But yeah, it didn't end that way. So okay, Andrii Kravets, for a little bit of background, is a very aggressive player, euphemistically speaking. He's insane, and you know, you can expect him to pincer stuff that doesn't have a base. So yeah, it happens. And I played S16, and Andrii takes my base. And, you know, I thought this was probably okay. Reverse Joseki. What do you mean reverse Joseki? Oh, yeah, it's sort of a reverse Joseki, because it's like, imagine that black had played here, white had played here, black had played here, this. And, you know, in the game, I was like, okay, Andrii wants to attack this, whatever, I'll let him. I don't care. So, black played this, which I sort of expected. I handed on the first line, which is kind of useful, because eventually that means I can make local life like this. So I have this in my mind. That doesn't mean I'm going to play it anytime soon. My group isn't that weak, but it's just a nice resource that I like having. And, okay, I had it and connected, black jumped, and this jump sets up a very obvious follow-up locally, which is he's going to play here and enclose my group. And sort of the language behind this move is, well, I want you to live in Gote like this. Was the slide good here? Which slide? Or shoulder head instead? Oh, you mean this? Slide in the corner. Is it good? I mean, I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, for sure shoulder hit is an idea. And, you know, I considered this. This is possible. The only issue I had with this position is that I have a cutting point I need to fix eventually. So, I mean, black shouldn't go for the cutting point immediately because white just goes down and gets a nice shape on both sides. So both of the groups are sort of fine on their own. And, you know, we're just gonna play like this probably or something and establish both of the groups. But my issue was that black's gonna play here and that if I have to fix this anyway. The cut is fightable, but not after black plays M18. So, like, I figured I'm gonna eventually have to deal with this cutting point anyway. Let's say. And this is possible. I mean, I can even, like, play here now or something like that. Or, you know, I can even just play something like I did in the game, and after black cuts, then ignore the cutting point and play here. Or, you know, I can even fight it, probably. I just wasn't such a fan of this running fight. So, and I didn't find, like, such a good way of protecting my shape in the center. So I considered playing something like this, and then Tanuki or something. I considered it. I just didn't think it was very good. It's fightable. I'm not saying it's bad, but I didn't choose it. I don't play it too often, but when I do, I like R7. I like R7 at R9. So I guess it's more of a territorial idea, possibly with Q3 next. Oh, I see. So, I mean, R9's definitely possible. R9 isn't really territorial. R9 is aggressive because it takes, like, R9 basically takes the base of your opponent. Right? So, like, the territorial move is what I did. Like, R9's the aggressive move, and or defensive, because you're indirectly helping your other group. And so, a cut is a debt you owe and have to pay later, better don't make any debts from the start. You can make debts, you just have to make sure you can pay them. So, R7 is more territorial. Excuse me. So yeah, R7 would be more territorial. Q3 is very slow. You don't play Q3 until much later in the game to just make points, but R9 is kind of asking the question, who's really under attack here, right? Yeah, exactly. That's the language behind R9. And, you know, I considered R9. R9's a good move, so, you know. But okay, this is how the game panned out. Black jumped here because he obviously wants to play N14 next. And I ignored. I played F17. And I had a plan for N14. He played it, and my plan was I attached here. The plan being, if black connects, then I'm going to play this move. And this, and this. And then if here, I'm gonna have this move. So this move makes me eye between, like, R11 Atari and some kind of O14 Atari and escape to the top side. So in the game, he went down, and the idea is the same. I attached here anyway, and the plan is that I have A in pseudo Sente. or not in Sente, because what I expected to happen, happened. He played M13, I turned. Then black played on the outside, and I took the right side. So, what I expected happened, where, like, P13 is locally Sente, black gives up his attack, lets me live on the right side with, a decent amount of points, right? By capturing the 2 stones. And, I even have nice follow-ups later. Black is hardly going to take Gote to save these 2 stones. But later in the game, I might have a follow-up of capturing here and taking the 2 stones on the right side as well. So, I have, let's say, I thought that this would be okay because black gets some center stones, but my shape on the right side is actually a lot of fun. Very nice shape. So I like this for white. Like, not that I thought white's good, I just liked it. And I read this type of sequence when I played f17, and I chose to play f17 rather than to invest a move in the center, which I didn't really want to do because it's not, like, doing anything for me if I can help the group in other ways. Either R9 or R7 are also ways to avoid the terrible Joseki result with S11 where white is just really low. I mean, that one is also possible. You can just play here. Playing here is fine. You can think of S11 as an aggressive Joseki choice from, like, if you just think of it as, I'm taking the base of Q11, it's not a bad move either. The move that keeps the bases of the groups very much in mind, and that's not inherently a bad thing. Ponuki in the middle, this is outrageous. Oh, here's a question. So I play here, here, here. What would you play here as black? Because when Browser says Ponuki in the middle, it seems that he's suggesting... it seems that he's suggesting that 013 capture is next. But I don't know. Up to chat to decide. Is S11 not bad towards your 4-4? I'm not sure what you mean, actually, 72 core. Oh, by the way, thank you for chiming in and chatting. I'm not sure I've seen you in chat up to until now. So thanks for joining. I'm not entirely sure what you mean in terms of bad for the 4-4. Capture feels slow, this capture. F16, so someone suggested F16, okay. And someone said capture looks slow but didn't really specify. So, in my mind, black sort of has a wall here. Sort of. Like, all of these mark stones make a sort of wall for black. And black has a few ways to, like, kind of consider this. I wouldn't play F16 because F16... Well, F16 is usually the type of move that you can play if you want to develop this side of the board. But that isn't the case because your stone at C8 is low, right? So, given that your stone at C8 is low, then what you'd actually want to do if you want to develop this moyo is something like this move. Or, just something on the top side, any kind of pincer, something like that. You could also just take the stone and make it more solid. Let's see what people are saying. D14, I guess. So somebody... Okay, D14 has the same direction of play issue that some of the other moves that have been suggested have, which is that I'm probably just going to play on the top side, and then black's wall isn't working so well. Now, black isn't, strictly speaking, playing badly here. I just think it's slightly suboptimal. I may play it to prove my opponent is wrong. 014. Yeah, well, I guess you mean 013. Is R12 an option at all, or is it too slow? So R12... you mean R12 for white? Or R11? Oh, R11, okay. R11 is pretty slow, because if you think about it, the right side is really small, right? White stone here. So white stone here makes sure that this side is very small. And given that white's group is already completely alive, black's just fighting for loose change here. And you shouldn't fight for loose change on move 29. So... I was thinking about the sequence after S11 usually gives black a mini influence on the side, so maybe black can approach 4-4 instead of connecting. The sequence after S11... Oh, usually gives black a mini influence on the side, so black can... Okay, so I'm not... Okay. Well, hurt 4-4 is very relative. So direction of play isn't that important, usually. So serving local strategic objectives is better than playing for direction of play, usually. And the reason is that shape in Go is shape and eyes are things that you can turn into other stuff later. So when you're playing, like when you're looking for direction of play, you're committing to stuff, whereas when you're making good shape, you're just making good shape. And that's why, even though I think d14 is slightly suboptimal, it's not much worse than playing a better move in terms of direction of play. So when you think about after S11, so we were saying that black gets a mini influence. I mean, I don't see how, actually, but the point is that, you know, maybe white, you could say that there's an incongruence between this second line stone and this fourth line stone, but I don't think that's a big deal. Because stones are not so synergistic in Go from long range. It's much more important for them to be synergistic in short range. So usually just making good shape is more of a priority. Someone asked F18 with a kappa. No. P7 is an option, possible ladder breaker developing move. Oh, I actually showed the move here, so H17 was played. So H17 was played, One-Eyed Dragon. Oh, P6. P6 is just an interesting exchange you might be able to make. So, oh, I see. Thanks for answering. Yeah, thank you for asking. Synergistic is a great word. It's a fun word. So, okay. Black pincered H17 with the whole idea of, I'm going to develop this moyo. I could take, but then white just plays something like this, maybe something like this, and gets another move that helps his group be flexible. And even though I got a Ponuki here, it doesn't mean that my shape is good, because white can still like peep it here, attach here. There's still something like a hole in this area. So it's much more efficient. I agree with black's choice to pincer. And here, first thing I did is that I connected. And the idea behind connecting is just to ask black, which way do you want to protect your weakness? It's not that I'm scared that black will connect anytime soon. I'm just asking a question. Are you going to connect here and make the Aji at N16 less problematic? Or are you going to connect at L12? And then later, you know, I have all kinds of Sente moves later. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to play like this. I'm just illustrating a point. That black, you know, if black plays here, black has some problems. And if black plays here, well, black has this other problem, right? Where there's a cutting point and maybe all of black's stones on the right side will become a little bit weak. So I'm just asking black a question. Black answered at L12, which I actually agree with. And, you know, he's so far, I don't think black did anything wrong here. So H17 or E17 with the new AI stuff in mind would be my options depending on my confidence with the moyo. E17. Okay, E17 is interesting. So, oh, oops. Yeah, E17. The problem with E17 is that usually you want to follow it up with D14, and then next move white can just settle the group. Like, if you already had a stone at D14, you could kick and then pincer. But if you can't pincer, then you're not attacking to use the moyo. So I think H17 is the better move here. If we follow your line of reasoning. I mean, in terms of using the moyo, at least. If you want to not use the moyo, E17's fine. So, okay, so I asked a question, and then, okay, my next decision is really, it shows, okay, I'm gonna share a secret of mine. So I play moyo, right? And the least favorite thing that I have as a moyo player, like my least favorite thing to do, is when I have to kill someone with my moyo. That's the worst thing ever. And the reason is, killing stuff is really hard. Like, I want my moyo to give me strength in the upcoming fight, give me an edge in the fight, give me an advantage, and slowly throughout the game, my moyo will like seamlessly transition into points on the side, into point in this corner, into an advantage in this local fight, and eventually I will catch up an apparent deficit in cash due to my strength in a like dynamic way. Now, if your moyo for some reason turns into somewhere that your opponent lives in or dies in, and like that 50-50 is what decides the game, That's so uncivilized. You know? That's so uncivilized. Like, it's so annoying. It's like, you feel like you're like in barbarian land. Isn't it Black who's making a Moyo? Yeah, I mean, I don't have a Moyo this game. But the point is that I don't like being invaded. And actually, I like invading. And the reason is that it's easier to live than to kill. Fuck being civilized, I want to kill. It's the best part of Go. Yeah, no. Anyway, Session asks an interesting question. What would you answer be if Black has ignored your connection, F16 or E17? So if Black plays F16, I'm just gonna cut this way. And the idea of this cut is that suddenly Black's group here is like not strong at all. All of these Black stones are like not doing so well. And even if Black sacks and lets me play here, then my shapes are much better than Black's in this area. And you know, I can still use the top side to activate a lot of Aji. I can still like wedge here and like, I mean, you know, turn here and get some sente move. I can still live in the corner with Sun. So it's not like F7, F16 is that big of a move. And this cut makes a huge difference. I mean, due to the weakness of this group, it's almost like I have a Moyo on the lower right now. Because I've got really, really good shape now, whereas Black's shape is terrible. So I think that actually preserving the connection of Black's group here is kind of pivotal. Killing is bad for the one dying. Well, killing is bad because it doesn't work. If it worked, it would be fine, usually. Oh, by the way, hello there, Frank Big Time. Welcome back to chat. You know. It's okay. Anyway, this whole preamble about me saying that I like invading Moyos, right? That's the preamble to me invading C17. So, you know, what someone that is not playing, like, doesn't want your opponent to get a Moyo, what White would do is like this, and this, right? And just try to get the group out. And of course, Black would try to attack here. Black would try to turn this into a weak group. But the point is, White's trying to deflate Black's Moyo ambitions, not build them up. Babaweg, thank you for following. Welcome. So, yeah, aloha there. Yeah, hello there. So, basically, whereas some less ambitious players would just play F15 and try to limit the Moyo, right? I kind of invited Black to make the Moyo bigger, and I'm intending to eventually invade on the top side to live. So, yeah. O12 and Q12 are doing nothing on the board. They have no meaning as well. O12 and Q12. O12 and Q12 aren't on the board at all, but so I'm not sure what you mean. So yeah, so oh, hello there, Babaweg. I'm not sure I've seen you in chat before, so welcome. You're welcome anyway, even if you've been here before. Long time ago, I was told E17 and not F18. Is this new Joseki? Yes, it's new Joseki. So basically, bots have told us that we were wrong about E17 or F18. So the reason that this is considered to be bad for Black these days to play E17, and you can still do this. If you want to do this, you can do this. It's only slightly worse than playing F18, is that you basically don't want to allow White to get these sente moves. So imagine, like, let's imagine for a second that White had a stone here, and that you wanted to pincer it or something, right? F18 is AI. Then White can basically use this Aji to start a group here. And in this particular situation, you can probably like play here, and try to establish a group on the side. I mean, you can sack the F18 stones, it's fine. So you can play like this and sort of use the sente moves to create a group. And the Aji isn't very big, which is why E17 is usually okay as a move. But we usually prefer F18 these days. Now, the issue with F18 is the cutting point, right? What about the cutting point? Now, like, let's imagine that White plays here, and then we play here. You know, like, we've examined why E17 might not be good, but now we have to examine why F18 could not be good, like, what the problems are with F17. Not with F17, with F18. And we have to examine this cutting point, and White has a few options, not White, Black has a few options on how we answer this. we can just play here, 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 and make the group heavy, right? So it's not a big problem. And the aji is there, the cut could become a problem, but it's generally considered that that's a smaller problem than if we play e8, 17, the problem of f18. So I guess, yeah, very clear, thanks. Oh, yeah, I'm glad it helped. So O11, Q11. O11 and Q11 are not that useful, yeah. But you can imagine that my own stones on the right side aren't doing that much either, except making a few extra points. So sometimes in Go, you play moves that make your opponent's moves look bad, but also make your moves look bad. And the debate is which moves look more inefficient. So that's one of the things about Go. So, okay. C14, and for now, black Tenukis. And I agree with black's Tenuki. Like, imagine that black were to add a move at like M16 or something just to make sure that white's never gonna live. Then it's actually not very big. Because, after all, you're defending an area of like 20 points worth. So it's not that big. You want a Tenuki here. Is H16 an option for white at some point? Yes, it is. What white does sometimes... White has a lot of options here. Sometimes you will see white playing like this. If white wants to play from the top, I've seen this... No, not this. This. And white sort of tries to make shape in the center. I've seen this before. White has a lot of other things he can do. He can play like this. He can play like this. There's lots of different ways to try and use the aji. And I'm going to use the aji like a little bit later on, so... And on black E13, on black E13, would you ignore and go J3 yourself? E13 feels kinda sente. E13 isn't kinda sente. I mean, what's the problem? Black plays here, and like, you can either play C15, preparing to cut here later. And you know, this is fine for black. Black can just sacrifice the 2 stones. The 2 stones aren't that big, right? So you can just sack the 2 stones, it's fine. Just C15, prepare some endgame later. And, you know, E13 is a move that has some nice follow-up, but it's not sente by any means. I would play on the lower side. So I'd also consider invading at this point, because if black plays E13, the top side gets bigger, 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 and bigger. The more moves black adds to it. So at some point I do want to invade. I think I might not invade yet because the lower side is really big. But say black played another move here, then I'd invade. It's good timing to invade. And I invaded very soon. So we're going to get to watch a fun invasion on the top side very soon. So is H16... Oh wait, I already read that one. Oops. It used to be unacceptable for white to let C13 happen. Times change. So black played on the lower side. I played here, here, here. And I actually kicked at c4. And this is... So... this is funny. So, my logic here was that I think that black adding a move is slow, right? And even if black does add a move, I'm going to be able to play some cosmic move and reduce it. Like, if I play here, black isn't going to kill this stone. So it's basically some sort of reduction, so the top side isn't very big. So... if black doesn't want to stop my invasion, then the invasion isn't then the invasion isn't urgent. So I'm basically waiting for black to play E13 to then invade myself. Is C4 bad here? No, C4 isn't bad. C4 is fine. I'd still play C4. Because the point is, I'm basically waiting for black E13 in order to invade the top side. It's a waiting game in terms of the moyo on the top side, which is kind of funny. And... like, c4 is just the biggest waiting move I could find. Like, I'm just waiting, you know? Had black also kept waiting, I would probably, instead of invading on the top side, I would probably have reduced. Like, I would probably have played something like J14, maybe. And that, you know, prepares a lot of invasion ideas, you know, like this, like this, like this, and just making shape in this area and creating a flexible group that will be impossible to kill. And, you know, if black plays a passive move, which he won't, then it's already a good reduction, right? Like, it's already a good reduction, so... not c10 or something like that. C10's okay, but remember that because of C14 has some weaknesses for white, which is that, for example, after this, black's going to be able to play this kind of move. So the left side is never very big in this type of shape because of black's sort of sente moves due to white's weak shape. So probably unhurried to enter opponent's territory. Yeah. So here, basically, I was thinking I can invade, but I don't need to. So why would I? So I just kept playing big moves until black eventually played here. And then I was like, okay. I mean, first of all, I have no big moves left to play. Like, this move isn't very big. Because it basically does nothing. It doesn't do that much. And the follow-up is also not very big. It's like, in the end, I invested 4 moves for a mediocre corner. At least for the price of 4 moves. So I figured this is actually the right time to invade. Was N17 the invasion point? It's one of the invasion points. That's coming for sure. How did you know you didn't need to invade? Because you say the option to do it later, or were you counting points already? Well, I was like, I can invade anyway, and M16 is slow, or like O15. Either one is just slow. So, I mean, if we count points, basically, if black keeps this line of territory roughly, then white's fine. White's better because it's white's turn. So basically, black can't be so... I did count, by the way. And I was like, yeah, probably this isn't good for black yet. So black has to play even bigger, after which I can invade anyway. So yeah, I guess it's like both that I had the option to do it later and that, you know, black can't play so slowly to defend. House Mybel, thank you. Oh, no, House Milby, thank you for following. Welcome. Hard name to pronounce for some reason, I'm sorry. Who knows, I probably still mispronounced it. Okay, anyway. So, black played E13, and I was like, okay, I have no big moves left to play, let's invade. So let's have a party in here. And, you know, there's a lot of different options that white had. Something that, I still think could be done is even some wacky reduction moves such as this one, where if black plays from the top, then you live, and you sort of have an extra stone. And if black plays very passively, he won't. Black will play from the outside. For reference, black will play from the outside. But if black plays something like this, then you can just run out and consider this a reduction. So, you know, there's some flexible options. In the game, I was just like, bam, I'm gonna live in here. So, yeah. Is that wacky? I'm not sure anymore if it's wacky. So, this is what I did in the game. I just threw a bunch of stones on the top side and I'm like, kill me, I dare you. So yeah, and I mean, not kill me, I dare you. I mean, of course this is gonna live. No way it dies. But keep in mind that I'm living on a relatively small area. As we go on like, into this invasion sequence, just living is not enough for white. White has to live well. Okay, we come to this point in the game. So, I did some reading, as you are wont to do when you're playing competitive Go. And I figured that if I play something like this move, black's gonna be really, really reluctant to play a move on the first line to try and kill me. Right? And, you know, if, like, I'm gonna say... I'm trying to remember my reading from the game exactly. So, do I play here? Black has to cut and play here. And then if black tries really, really, really hard... I mean, he's not killing me. If black tries really, really hard, he's still not killing me. So I'm gonna play like this. And then... probably this. And I'm gonna run out. Actually, do I run out? Or do I just make life? Or not make life. Wait, this one's even crazier. This one is I run out and I try to make liberties to kill black on the top. Because this group is really hard to cast for black. Wow. So, L13 and go out. Oh, hello there, Machugo. But L13, I'm not sure at which timing L13. You could L13 now and go out. Yeah, that's another way to do it. So basically, white's really hard to catch. So if I play L18, black isn't gonna invest another move to kill me. That's not gonna happen. So black's gonna play here, and I'm gonna play this. Or like, black's gonna play here, and I'm gonna play this, and this, and this. And then this. And white is alive, right? White has 2 eyes. You have this one, but it's the same. Yeah, so same idea. Basically, it's too hard to kill white. I decided that in the game. But I also, at this point, realized that doesn't mean the game's good for me. Because black has basically kept this moyo. And after he exchanges this Encente, and, you know, plays this move, then we can see that this moyo gives black so much potential just around all of this area. And that's going to turn into passive points. Like, there's lots of invisible points there. And I lived really small and in Gote on the top, giving him lots of points in his corner anyway. So I figured that even though living like this is okay, it's actually kind of what the AI recommends. And the AI thinks that this game is like 50-50. I mean, I think it thinks that black is a little bit better. I basically wanted more. So I guess I can show what happened in the game because I really did look for more here. I played N14, and now I started this Ko. That's a big moyo, almost like the size of Texas, yeah. So I mean it'll look like Texas eventually. Sort of. And so basically I'm looking for more. It's like, oh, this top side isn't very big, so I can basically bet on the top side, right? I can, like, stake the top side. Everything's bigger than Texas. Oh, in Texas, yeah. I mean, isn't Texas, like, massive? I think just the state of Texas is bigger and has almost the same population as something like, I don't know, Spain, which is, you know, my country. So, okay. I basically took the attitude here that since the top side is, like, kind of small, if I just live there, I'm gonna explode the top side. Like, it was his territory. It was his influence anyway. I can afford to die there if I get compensation. So I was like, fuck it, we play a Ko. And Andrii was like, no. And, like, he could play a Ko here, and then I'd play here, and then I'd take here, and then I'm probably gonna live somehow. I didn't intend to let it die. But, I mean, I could. I could just play here now or something. And trade topside for lower side, that's an option as well. Or black could keep playing on the lower side and then do what he did in the game, which is this trade. And I'll show how this trade works in a little bit. So, yeah, black basically decided, okay, I'm going to play from the outside and basically keep the 3 stones. Keep the 3 stones, keep my outside moyo. And I mean, who cares if you live on the top side with a few stones? And what black did here is all fine and dandy, except for one little weakness. Like, imagine that the shape were like this would be amazing for black, because, okay, I can connect on the second line in Gote, but then black's shape is ridiculously solid. He kept 10 extra points on the top side, and he can just go back to, like, business as usual. And he'll have a good game. So, the issue with black's shape is this. I can still play a Ko here. This double Atari is still a nuclear explosion that I can set off in his moyo. So at this point, I Tanuki'd, and this is one of the rare situations where you play for a Ko. Like, Kos are often overrated, because people think that people think that winning a Ko means that you're the one who takes the stone of the Ko, right? But that isn't what winning a Ko is. Winning a Ko is getting a good result. So very often people will find themselves making bad exchange after bad exchange after bad exchange in order to create threats for a Ko that isn't worth winning in the first place. Now, there's an exception, or there are some exceptions, such as, for example, if I win this Ko, right, I kill black's entire top right side. That's a big Ko. I'm willing to give up anything on this board to win this Ko. So what I'm actually doing on the lower side is preparing Ko threats. The type of plan I have is I make these exchanges, and then I play here, and then after black takes, I play, I don't know, this move. So basically, I want black to win the Ko, and I'm gonna win a Ponuki on the lower side, which is really nice, right? Bam, bam. And this was Black's Moyo anyway, remember? And I still have the option to play S18 and connect, like, the carcass of my group. So I still have the option to reduce his Moyo a little bit. And I got a Ponuki in exchange. Yeah, kind of free co. White O15. O15 is another option. There's another way to start this ko. We play O15, which basically kills Black's group except for the ko. So Black has to fight the ko for the group. So there's even two ways to start this ko, which are kind of I think we can do both of them. I wanted to do this one because if we win the ko, it's like an even bigger capture. And Black can sort of back out and play O15, but like this is just really nice for White. Because I'm locally alive in Sente, and I've basically killed Black's Moyo now. So I figured if I start this ko, Black has to fight it. So let me make ko threats to basically let me construct a ko threat that's big enough so I can start this ko. This was M11's a time Suji because I'm already really low on time. It's move 75, but I'm actually low on time here. I had like maybe 2 minutes left. I was like, I want a bit more time, so I just played an exchange. And okay, so I remember I'm preparing ko threats. You usually shouldn't do. Don't make bad exchanges for ko's, except if they're ko's this big, then it's worth it. So, and Black decided to concede. Black played O15, which is basically like, I'm going to win the ko before you start it, just so your threat isn't as big as it could be, right? So then in the end, what happens is that Black killed me on the top side. I still have endgame at S18 to connect like the remaining stones. But Black solidified the rest of the top side. In exchange, I get an extra move, which is this cut here. And at this point in the game, I had no clue who's better. I was already low on time. I didn't really know. I mean, I thought I was fine because this seemed a little bit like, imagine we go back here. I played this move, Black played here, White played here, and then Black played here. That's what it felt like. And then I play here. And this would be good for White. Now, the difference is that in this type of board position, right? In this type of board position, let's imagine it was White's turn. White could still play on the top side. Like, White would still be able to, like, play here and try and reduce the top side. And there's still moves to be played. There's even, I mean, I don't know how easy it is to kill this type of invasion still. So, this top side is not ultra solid. It's more solid, it's not ultra solid. Now, imagine that in the, like, now, at this point, instead of using the Aji to play something like J12, like, if I play something like J12, then this is definitely going to become a reduction, right? This stone isn't going to die. It's a reduction. But now imagine that I, like, played this, this, and this. This is what the real game is like, basically. And okay, Browser makes a really good point. With this variation, the Carcass endgame is not there, though. Yeah, so basically, if we want to keep making our comparison, this is basically like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and then later in the game, I'm going to be able to play S18 as endgame. And if you think about this, it's so hard to judge. I didn't know. I mean, in the game, I had no clue. Okay, in the game, it's even like Black protected this cutting point for free as well. So it was so hard to judge. I didn't know. I thought that for all intents and purposes, the game is kind of even. If you ask the computer, it actually slightly likes Black. So yeah, in the end, yeah, I think the idea behind Black being better is that it is Black's turn, right? Like, remember how it was like, imagine Black played E13, I played here, White played here, like E13, I play on the top side, Black plays O15. Wait, here after actually after I play L2, it's still Black's turn. So it's Black's turn both here and in my comparison. So basically, wow. That means the only explanation for why the computer thinks that Black's better here, as opposed to if this variation hadn't happened, is that in this kind of situation, it really, 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 really values the agi on the top side. Still. So it's still thinking about one day I'm gonna play here or here, and black's never killing the stone, right? Because of the agi on the top side. Now, how many points is the carcass connection anyway? It seems pretty huge to me. So, okay, that's a very interesting question, which is extremely relevant to the result of this game. Keep in mind that I won this game by 1.5 points. And that carcass connection was some endgame that we basically had to try and count. And it's hard. It's really hard. I don't know what to say. So we'll discuss it when it's time. The carcass connection. Oh, it's basically a term that I've invented on the spot. Or, like, I'm using for this. Yeah, AI really dislike wasted stones, even if they allowed you to trade. Yeah, I wasted a lot of stones here. So, basically, we go up here, and, like, the reason I'm calling it a carcass connection, a Decros, is that, basically, this is, like, the carcass of my group, because it's kind of dead. Remember how I made an invasion here, and I let the invasion die to get an extra move on the lower side. But the carcass of this group can still connect at S18. So I'm calling it a carcass connection. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So, 15 to 20 points. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that, I think. And the thing is, let's imagine for a second. The simplified way of thinking about it is to put a stone at M17. And if you have a stone at M17, then basically, if black plays here, then all of these points are black's. That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. And I counted, I mean, I remember what I counted this area to be in total. I don't remember what I counted black has here. Wait, let me count. So basically, yeah, I count that black has 30 extra points here. Sounds like a disgusting dating app. The carcass connection. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. That's more imaginative than I'd like to be. So okay. Black has about 30 extra points. And we're imagining for the sake of simplicity that white has already connected M16. If white connects here, white actually makes... So, like, black's gonna push, and push, and push, and push, and Atari. If we count white's extra points, white has actually made, I don't want to play a move here, I want to mark. So, white has actually made some 6 extra points on the top side. So, by connecting, all of these points have become white's. So this entire part of the board is worth 36 points. That's not an endgame, by the way. Oh wait, I'm going too much forward. This move isn't an endgame connection. This move is really big. Really, really big. S18 is really big. In fact, when I was talking to my teachers after the game, one of them was like, I'm surprised that this, and he put this in quotations, endgame connection wasn't played sooner. That was his language. Oh, hello, Ramanskaigo. Welcome back. So, okay, we have this thing on the board, and keep in mind, it's not actually worth 36 points. If it were worth 36 points, I would play it immediately without thinking. Immediately. Now, the reason it's not worth 36 points is that we were pretending that M17 had already been connected by white. So, imagine that white plays here now. This ko remains afterwards, right? And this ko is so hard to judge, because basically if white wins it, white has 7 points and black has 0 in this area. If black wins it, black can either win it like this, where white has 0 points because white doesn't have an eye, so white's eventually going to have to connect all of these points. And black has like 5 extra points plus the value of this ko, but black can even keep fighting the 2-stage ko. Black can even keep fighting the 2-stage ko, and then fight this ko, and it's like co-inception, right? Like, even this can be fought. This is another ko that will be fought in the endgame, because white can make threats and capture back and try and force black to connect. So, basically, because M16 hasn't been connected, this is some sort of co-inception stuff that nobody can count or judge. So basically, I was like, it's 36 points minus however much Black's gonna get by playing M17 later. Black plays like 5 Gote moves to finish the ko, though. Of course, Black isn't going to play M17 now. The point is that this endgame is there. It's not like S18 is worth 36 points, right? It's worth 36 points minus whatever the hell Black's getting out of M17. Well, how do you get out of that ko? Well, there's lots of ways. I mean, one of the ways is that Black keeps capturing forever, and that eventually Black wins the ko this way, and this way. Eventually. Like, eventually. Like, that's one way it could end. Worth 36... 36 divided by 6. What? How is this 36 divided by 6? I don't understand. I'd be interested in the explanation. So, you don't know how much it's worth until you play it. Even after you play it, you don't know. The Schrodinger's ko, yeah. This could be a YouTube video called Coception. Yeah, I mean, I might upload this. I'll probably be uploading this stream to YouTube. So I haven't uploaded any streams to YouTube yet, but I have an intention to upload the last 3 ones plus this one. Once I get time to make descriptions. Not accurate, but somewhat endgame math. I mean, I'm not sure I agree that it's endgame math. Are you saying that it's like a 6-stage ko worth 36 points? So like this, like 1 take, 2 take, 3 takes, 4 takes, 5 takes. So like you invested 5 moves to get back your 36 points. Is that what you're saying? So is that what M17 is worth? Like that's kind of what you're arguing? I'd agree with that, except not every stage of taking the ko, like not every stage of taking the ko is worth the same, right? So like if now Black, like for some reason like White connected, right? And then Black connected, and then like, I don't know, this happened, like eventually this happened, right? Then Black didn't gain the same proportional to the amount of moves he invested than if White, like, you know, than if White connected a different point, the ko. So, I mean, a way to play's idea is a good-ish way of doing it. Though it's actually worth more than that, by the way, because as soon as you take M17, all of White's points, White used to have these 6 extra points, all of these points are gone if Black wins the ko. So the ko's actually much bigger than 6 points. Like, 6 points might be what Black is gaining, very roughly. So maybe you could say that this ko is, taking this is worth 2/3, because, I mean, now Black has 2/3 because you haven't won the ko yet, you've just taken the ko, so you have 2/3 of the ko, that's how you would conventionally refer to it. So it's 2/3 of 12, plus the value you get from playing this co-inception thing. So, it's so hard to judge. You can kind of say that it's worth about 12 points. About 12 points. But wow, you know, that's a mess. Nobody told me that in order to be good at Go, I should be good at calculus. Yeah, I mean, basically, stage co's are like a Taylor series of adding like contingencies one after the other. Like into, I mean, with this many co's, it's like almost as long. So cough, Lucan, cough. Yeah, not this. Yeah. So, oh wait, someone's knocking. Oh, muchas gracias. Oscar, get good in endgame and get to 9p. No. No. Okay. Yeah. Taylor series is maybe not the right way to explain this. It's weird. I guess it's hard. Why 12, not 6? The reason it's not 6, the reason it's much more than 6 is that Black is immediately erasing N18, O19, S19, T19, T18, and T16 as points. And moreover, Black's going to make some of his own points in the ko. So it's at least 6 and possibly much more. Right? and the possibly much more is the one that's really hard to quantify. So this ko is just a huge mess, so hard to judge. And this endgame was like, if I had the stone here, the next move is very easy to calculate. It's 36 points. But how much less than 36 is it? I didn't know. And basically, according to the computer, both my opponent and I badly misjudged the value of S18. Except I misjudged it less badly, so I played it sooner. Like, it was really big according to the computer. So, anyway, but let's continue a little bit to see what happened. I kind of have to go soon, so I'm going to rush through this part of the game a little bit. So, the TLDR is like, Black used, so I took the lower side, but Black found a sort of clever way to use the Aji to trade it for the center. And for reference, I'm badly in time trouble here throughout the rest of this game. Except at the very end, I got some extra, let's say, moves. So I got a little bit of incremented time because we're using Fisher time. But I was in bad trouble for bad time trouble for a large part of this game. So Black connected at K16, and I jumped because I wanted to avoid some annoying stuff from Black. Annoying stuff. I mean, it doesn't really work, but it's big. It's big nevertheless, because if Black gets this Incente, then it's kind of easy for Black to make a big area. So I played here, and eventually, yeah, Black answered with F7 anyway, and then we can see that Black's area is like big, but we still don't know how big. We still don't know how much it's getting reduced. So the game was really unclear to me. The computer thinks that Black is about Komi ahead. Because I got the entire lower side, but Black got a really big box. Yeah, ouch, big box, correct. So the game goes on, and here, for example, at this point in the game, the computer's already begging us to play S18. Like, it wants me to play S18, it wants Black to play S17. And this is the point in the game where I think I got a little bit, not lucky, but I think my opponent thought he's ahead by more than he was. So when he's like, when I played C11, or I played actually C12, he was like, oh, I could play S17, but then White's gonna play like here, and then an unclear amount of my center will be gone, right? I feel like that is one of the types of mistakes that stronger players do, and us weaklings would just play S18. Yeah, I think a lot of weaklings, as you put it, not your words, not mine, would just play S18 because it looks big. But on the other hand, a move like D11 for White is really hard to judge as well, because it does a really good job of reducing Black's center. Like, White's gonna get really far in Black's center. So it like I reviewed the game with my opponent later, and keep in mind my opponent's a professional, and he's like, I found it so hard to judge this abstract center stuff and this like 5-stage ko, so what do I do? So in the game, he went with the more certain option. He's like, I want to make sure that I keep the left side. Like, not keep the left side, that I contain you on the left side. I want to make sure I keep my box, because that way I know I'm winning. I don't want to capture here and then let D11 loose on my center. So he played cautiously because he's ahead. But eventually, when I got S18, and then eventually, I think very, very soon in the game, I... okay. Another big part of this is that when Black's center is smaller than it looks, because I have some Tetsuji stuff to reduce it. Eventually, he also missed the timing to start this ko. Like, apparently, he was basically trying to play a safe endgame, where he's not starting uncertain stuff like M17. I mean, because M17 is like a multiple stage ko. He has to keep winning the kos. Or not has to, but if he wants to maximize the value, he might have to. And that kind of thing is very uncertain, so he just played for a certain endgame because he found this really hard to calculate anyway. And it seems that my intuition on which moves were bigger was a little bit better. So I got to play M17, and apparently now, if you ask a computer, and also I was counting this game, and my thoughts were that the game was really, really close now. Really close. And as it happens, I ended up winning by 1 point. So, 1.5 points. So, the end game was like, the black was ahead by Komi, but black tried to play it a little bit too safe. And tried to avoid weird stuff such as this M17 ko, and tried to avoid weird stuff such as me playing D11 and getting all up in his grill, trying to reduce the center. And in the end, all of those cautious decisions caught up to him. And it's interesting because while I was in Byoyomi, well, not in Byoyomi, but I wasn't under a lot of time pressure, I found it very hard to judge whether I'm behind or ahead, but I could tell that the game was not better for me. So I played very aggressively in the end game. Like, I went for a lot of stuff. And eventually it paid off because obviously I needed it. So, and at this point I knew that the game was super close. I'm still pissed with myself for this mistake. This game, at this point I should be already a little bit ahead, according to my counting. But I should really play S9 and Sente and force black's weak group to connect. Otherwise I'm just going to cut here next move, or cut here. And black's entire group is dead. So black's gonna connect in Gote, allowing me to play something like A5. So I mistimed this and allowed black to get R10 in Sente, which is slightly better for endgame. So very psychological due to the scenario of the game. Yeah. So the abstract nature of this ko, because at the time I didn't find a good way to calculate the value of this ko. Like, I basically kind of thought it's kind of worth 10 points-ish. I thought it's worth more than 10 points, but not much more-ish. Maybe. And that's entirely a guess. Keep in mind, I'm playing constantly on increment here. Like 20-second increments. So it's not that easy for me to, formally try and decide how big this is. I might ask a friend of mine, Stanislav Frelak, who's a European 7-dan, who actually knows endgame theory much better than me, how big he thinks this topside ko is, because it's such a weird ko that's so hard to judge. I might send him this SG up later. Yo, what do you think? So yeah. And because of the abstract nature of, we don't know how much his center can be reduced if he doesn't defend it. We don't know how big M17 is. This kind of stuff made him make some decisions because I think he thought he's ahead. And he was ahead until he wasn't. And yeah, this made it a little bit risky for me because black has a lot of co-threats. So actually, at this point, black knew that the game was close. So he hung onto this ko and fought it. And used all his co-threats on the lower side. And that's actually why it was so important for me to get S9 out of the way in Sente earlier. So why it was really important for me to get this move out of the way in Sente, because in the game, black actually hung on and fought for this Yose point in a ko, because he has so many more threats in this board position. So in the end, yeah, this happened, and I ended up winning by very, very little, so 1.5 points. One of the reasons is that actually both of us missed how big E19 was. E19 is really big. It looks like a 2-point endgame move, but it's actually worth 4. And the reason is that if white plays like this, next C15 will be Sente, because you're threatening to cut here, making me of E15 and G17. So this move was bigger than this move is bigger than either one of us gave it credit for. For some reason, I thought it was worth 3 points, not 4. So we left it for longer than we should have. So many weird things happened here where my lead was a little bit in jeopardy. And eventually I actually managed, and I won by 1.5 points. And thus I beat a professional, so that's good. Yeah, that's actually my second official rated game against, rated win against a professional. So, fun game. So the Grand Prix Finale ended yesterday with Ilya Shikshin winning it to nobody or their grandmother's surprise. So yeah, but it was a fun event. I got to the quarterfinals. I won this game, and then I lost the 5th to 6th place game by half a point to Lukas Podpera 7-dan. I played that game yesterday. Sometimes you lose some. In the end, I got 6th place. It's a decent result. I'm happy with it. And I played some fun games. So, were the rewards revealed? I'm not sure if they're public, actually. So I'm not sure if I mean, I've known the rewards for a long time, so I knew how much I'd be getting, like, depending on my result. There are some prizes, but I'm not sure if they're public for some reason. They should. I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be public, but I'm not sure if they are. So yeah. Beat professional, yeah. The only other professional I've beaten is Andrii Kravets, who is one of the newer professionals, and I think was a little bit weaker than the other professionals when he was promoted, so he was a little bit more accessible to me. But Dongi's been improving recently, so I don't know if I'll be so successful in the future. I currently have a very good record against Dongi, because I had a very good record against Dongi before he became professional. Well, did the 6th place get anything? You bet. Yeah, 6th place got some decent stuff. So, not unhappy with that. Oh, hello Z-Chen Mike. You catch the tail end of the stream, actually. Because I'm about to end it. Like, I'm actually, wait, who's live? Can someone tell me who's live so I can rate someone? Let's see. Actually, I'll just check who's live, why not? Oh, Z-Chen's live! Yeah, let's read Z-Chen. Wait. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sign off because I actually have something to do. I originally intended to make this stream a 4-hour stream, but something came up. I need to do something before I sleep. So, yeah, these were a couple of fun game reviews. Also, I got to reflect on my own game a little bit, and yeah, don't forget you're getting stronger too. Yeah, I intend to keep doing that, I suppose, and yeah, thank you to everyone who watched. We'll raid Z-Chen now. And yeah, Z-Chen plays Fox games and stuff, and he's pretty good. He's like rated 8 down to 9 down on Fox most of the time. So solid player. And yeah, I don't know. In the meantime, I don't know how I'll be doing next week in terms of streaming. I usually stream a couple of times per week, and I usually announce when I'll stream on my Discord server, so you can hit !Discord if you want to receive announcements like once a week on when I'll be live. And yeah. Hey, that was nice, thanks, GG for the win. Yeah, thank you for watching. That was a fun review. And other than that, I'll be live next week, usually on Fridays and Saturdays, like on the evenings or afternoons. But nothing's set, so I decide on the week. But anyway, other than that, thank you for watching. Let's raid Z-Chen Mike. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week, or on the Discord server if you happen to be there. I'm always ready to chat and stuff, so yeah. Bye, everyone.